So with that, we can now continue and listen to the presentation, sir. We can now proceed.
Good evening, sir. Is my presentation already visible, sir, and my audio is clear?
Yes po, yes po.
Thank you, sir. Magandang gabi sa ating lahat. Magandang gabi, Professor Brendan Cesar, my classmates, sir, ma'am. I'm Jefferson Marcelo. Allow me to take 25 minutes of your time to discuss about organization design. We'll be focusing on two key areas, the traditional and contemporary organizational design. So let's start. Okay, first rhetorical question for the whole class is the question of why do you think organization needs a specific structure design for their companies? So ano ang kalagahan nito sa pag-determine if a certain company will be successful or not? So bakit nga ba malaga ang organizational design? So pagkwentuhan muna natin saglit familiar naman tayo with this logo, si Toyota Motor Corporation. Si Toyota Motor Corporation is an automobile manufacturer. So siya yung nagde-design, nagmamanufacture, and nagsisell ng car. So ang headquarters nila ay sa Japan. Sa ngayon, ang Toyota ay may revenue, parang ni-research ko lang, na umaabot as of April 24, 2023 na 279.4 billion. So ang ibig sabihin nito, madami din silang employees. Ang employees nila, ang sabi kasi sa libro, kung saan tayo nagbase sa report natin, sinasabi niya is merong 340,000, pero sa open source, sinasabi niya as of April 2023, meron na silang 372,870 na employees. Sumusunod lang ito sa Volkswagen na may pinakamarami. Ito yung parang kumaga nearest competitor nila. Umaabot sila ng 675,000 plus na employees. So tingnan natin sa Pilipinas, ang Toyota Motor Corporation sa Philippines ay isa ito sa largest automotive company sa ating bansa. Umaabot sila ng 24 na models na car na pwede lang ibenta at meron silang 70 dealers nationwide. So the question now is, so why do we need to know this? Because later, we'll appreciate its significance. Paano nga ba yung binibigyan na importansya ng Toyota sa structure organization nila? Kasi sa Pilipinas pa lang, ang Toyota, nag-ooperate sila with 9 organizational units. So sabihin ko lang yung mga iba. Meron silang marketing, manufacturing, general administration unit, and iba pa. So the question now is again, why Toyota ang ginawang example natin? Kasi nakita natin, based from their record, yung profile nila, nakita natin how successful they are as an automotive company worldwide. Ibig sabihin, nag-operate pa nga sila sa 5 continents. Pero patuloy ang Toyota, yung Toyota company sa pag-iisip ng organization structure kung paano nila mapabuti, paano nila i-redesign, how they will become responsive or akma yung organizational structure nila sa present situation. So kagaya na lang ng ginawa nila. Dati kasi ang ginawa nila, they group yung mga job nila according to function. Pero from that structure, group naman nila ngayon according to product. So ang effect nito, dalawa. Una, napibilis yung decision making, and at the same time, tumaas yung responsive nila in terms of market trends. Now, dito sa ating presentation, we'll focus on answering the whats and whys of two organizational design, which is the traditional and contemporary. And also, I will also give my tatlong key takeaways ko dito. So mag-share din ako ng content na natutunan ko while I'm preparing this report. So, will we target to attain these objectives? So all of us, lahat tayo as in magkakaklase, will have an understanding about the mentioned organizational designs. And as we go through, we'll be reminded of some concepts, some terms na diniscuss na sa atin ni Ma'am Vanessa Laico about organizing. So hindi na ako magdidig masyado doon. Na importante pala ang restructuring para ma-accomplish yung goal ng isang company or ng isang organization. So same with organizational structure. Ito ay formal arrangement ng job sa isang organization na makikita sa organizational chart. And hindi rin may kakailan na meron din tayo yan sa Philippine Navy. So all throughout, sabi ko hindi na ako magdidig masyado sa mga key elements na na-discuss na ni Ma'am Laico about span of control, centralization, and formalization. First type is the traditional organization. So ano ito? So traditional means yung company is nag-employ siya ng one of the oldest types na structure, which is yung hierarchy. Although hierarchical structure pa rin is pwede pa rin siya dito sa 21st century, pero sinasabi ng mga business theories, yung mga ano natin, mga consultants, hey, suboptimal na yan. So ibig sabihin, hindi na siya best or flowed na yung structure to run an organization or to run a company. So si traditional is more on ano siya, parang mechanistic siya rather than organic. Kapag sinabi nating mechanistic, si organizational structure na to is nag-shape siya like a pyramid. Ang ibig sabihin nito, yung power and authority resting at the top while the organic, na kung saan natin kino-compare, is a shape like a flat surface kung saan yung power and authority distributed evenly amongst the members. So ang traditional, meron siyang tatlo, simple, functional, and divisional. And pasukan na natin sa simple. Nahuli yata. Yan ito. Si simple. Ito yung inanok kanina kaso nahuli yata. So si simple structure. Si simple structure is, ang sabi dito is little departmentalization, wide spans of control. Yung na-discuss nga ni Ma'am Laiko, yung spans of control is yung people mo under sa authority mo. So sabi niya, centralized authority and a little formalization. So most companies, lahat doon ng companies, almost nag-start, ginagamit tong simple structure. Meron yata ano. So, paano nagkakaroon ng changes yung from simple structure to other organizational structure? Ang ibig sabihin nito, kunwari, syempre, pag lumalago na yung isang business, lumalaki na yung isang organization, nadadagdagan ng mga tao, so, nagiging more specialized and formalized na yung organization natin. So, nagdadagdag na rin ng rules and regulation. So, nagka-create sila ng departments, levels of management, then nagiging somehow bureaucratic. So ngayon, si company or si organization, parang hinit to decide, oy, ano bang gagawin na natin dito? Hindi na lang tayo pwede sa simple structure. We need to determine if it's functional or divisional. So yan ang simple structure. Now we go to the functional structure. Ano naman ang ibig sabihin nito? Si organizational design naman na to, group lang niya yung similar or related occupational specialties within an organization. Ang ibig sabihin nito, same specialty, related functions, pinagsama-sama. So etong functional departmentalization na to is for the entire organization. So that's the functional structure. Nakita natin yung difference from simple to functional. Now let's go to the divisional. Paano naman si divisional? So ang organizational structure naman na to is made up of separate business units or division. So ang bawat division, kung mapapansin niyo dito, Region A, Region B, and Region C. So ang bawat division na yan has limited autonomy. Kumbaga yung division na yan, may manager siya who has authority over his or her unit and is responsible for the performance ng kanyang division. Kaso, si parent company, yung parent corporation niya, typically, nag-a-act siya as an external overseer. Ang ibig sabihin nito, yung coordination, control ng various division pa rin, nag-provide pa rin sila ng legal and financial aspect dun sa mga divisions nila. So, sample. Ang naisip ko dito na sample dito is si US kasi marami siyang Walmart. Si Walmart company, marami ito sa US. Si Walmart ngayon, meron siyang dalawang division. Si retail, saka si support. Si retail niya, meron siyang Walmart stores, meron siyang internationals, and others. Si support naman is more on the distribution center. So, si Walmart, isa siya sa mga gumagamit sa divisional structure. Now, the question is the Philippine Navy still using traditional organizational design? So I want to know the answer of the class. So based sa discussion natin, pwede ko bang mahingi yung opinion nyo? Pwede nyong i-type dito sa chat box and I'll be reading some. While I'll explain, ano nga ba ngayon yung existing na organization sa Navy? Ano ba siya? So meron nang sumagot. Pero yun, habang naghihintay pa ng mga sagot, so ipakita ko lang sa inyo yung current structure ng ating yung current PN4 structure. Hiningi ko to sa N3. So si headquarters kasi, si Philippine Navy kasi meron siyang headquarters, then nahati siya into two types of command, the Philippine Fleet and Philippine Marine Corps. Meron din siyang 7 combat forces. Ito siya. So naka-locate siya sa iba't ibang dako ng Pilipinas. Meron tayong 6 na combat support forces, general support, and ito usually yung force structure. So, sabi sa chat, so he's not with compromising everyone are encouraged and later. Okay, sorry. Akala ko nag-i-input po sila dun sa report ko. So, eto ngayon. So, para sa akin, to compare lahat ng types, merong eto. Nawala. Yun. To compare lahat ng types, from simple, functional to divisional, may kanya-kanyang strength and ano yan, may kanya-kanyang strength and weaknesses. Sample, yung strength ng simple structure, mas mabilis siya, flexible, saka inexpensive. While yung other side niya, hindi daw siya appropriate na as the organization grows. Kagaya ng sinasabi ko kanina, pag padagdag ng padagdag yung mga tao, plus nag-expand na yung organization, and the more people added to the company, the more it became complicated, the more it became formalized. So kailangan na nilang i-check, oy, tama pa ba itong ano natin, itong design natin. So sa functional naman, sabi dito is cost saving advantage siya. So yung mga employees group together with who have similar tasks. Ngayon naman is yung weakness naman niya is kapag pinurso daw yung functional goals can cause managers, kumbaga mawawala din siya ng other foresights or yung view or perspective niya sa other functions or other part ng company. So yun. So my question a while ago is the Philippine Navy still using traditional organizational design? So ang PN para sa akin is more on combination of functional and parang divisional. Any reaction? Kung wala na, so I'll go with the contemporary. So now we're done with the traditional. Diniscuss natin yung simple, functional, and divisional. Simple, functional, and divisional. Now we'll go with the organization, organizing for flexibility in the 21st century. So ano to? Parang sabi kasi is bakit kailangan natin ng contemporary organizational design? So sabi nila, oy teka, hindi na appropriate yung traditional. Meron pa ba pwede tayong gawin na design? So why the need for contemporary? There are two reasons. Why? One is increasing dynamic and complex environment of a company. And number two, the organizations need to be lean, flexible, and innovative. Kaya may nabuo at nag-exist na ngayon, and I will be discussing some of those contemporary traditional designs. So ang una is team structure. So ano ang team structure? Ang history nito, si co-creator daw ni Google na si Larry Page and si Bin, nag-create sila ng parang corporate structure kung saan inorganize nila yung projects around a small, tightly focused team. So ang team structure, yung entire organization is made up of work teams kung saan sila yung gumagawa ng trabaho ng organization. So kung mapapansin nyo, yung employee empowerment is crucial kasi nakikita nyo, wala yung line managerial authority flows from the top to the bottom. So yung employees has parang more lenient na mag-isip ano nga ba yung best para sa company namin and para sa project na to. Kaso, sila din yung may responsibility for all the work performance result in their respective area. So sabi ni Google, parang nakita niya na meron daw 5 common traits yung mga best teams nila na binulila dito sa team structure. So ano-ano yung mga 5? Tingnan ko. Number 1 is psychological safety. Number 2 is dependability. Number 3 is structure and clarity. Number 4 is meaningful membership. And number 5 is purpose. Sa isang large organization, yung team structure na dinidiscuss natin ay bagay siya sa functional and divisional structure. Kasi daw, ang team structure allows the organization para magkaroon ng efficiency dun sa bureaucracy and flexibility. That's the team structure. So, sino-sino yung mga company na gumagamit ng team structure? So, I know some of you or all of us are already familiar with these companies. So, si Amazon, si Boeing, si HP, si Louis Vuitton, saka si Motorola, saka si Xerox. Sila yung mga gumagamit ng yung team structure. Now let's go to another contemporary design. Ang tawag naman is matrix structure. Si matrix structures, nag-assign siya ng mga specialists from different functional departments to work on one or more projects that led by a project manager. So ang unique sa kanya, meron siyang dual chain of command kasi ang employees, dalawa yung manager niya. Una, yung functional area manager niya and the product or project manager, they share same authority. Si project manager niya is may authority siya over the functional members na part ng project team in areas na related dun sa ginagawa nila. Si functional manager naman is more on parang decision about promotion, salary recommendations, and yung mga annual reviews. Yun yung pagkakaiba nila. Sinasabi dito sa matrix structure, violate daw ni matrix structure yung principle na unity of command. Kasi nga, di ba, dalawa, sinasabi na dapat isa lang yung boss mo. Pero, sinasabi ng company na gumagamit ng matrix structure, mag-work to. Basta si dalawang manager they communicate regularly, they coordinate yung work demands of employees, and nire-resolve nila yung conflict together. So the matrix structure is an appropriate design for the dynamic and complex environment. So sample natin dito is yung mga construction projects na ginagawa. So ito, matrix structure yung ginagamit nila. Any questions so far? Kung wala na, let's proceed to the project structure. So na-discuss na natin yung dalawa. Let's go with the project structure. Ano naman si project structure? So many organizations use a project structure in which employees continuously work on projects. So hindi kagaya ng matrix structure. Sa project structure, walang formal departments kung saan yung employee pwede siyang bumalik kapag natapos na yung project. So instead, yung employees niya, nagtitake their specific skill, kumbaga, ano siya, excuse sir. Yun. Kumbaga, yung mga kasama dito sa project team na to, may specific skills sila, abilities, and experiences para mag-add na maging successful yung project. So also, parang yung work in project structure is performed by teams of employees. So si employees, nag-join sila sa isang project team because they bring needed skills and abilities to the project. Kaso nga lang, si project structures tend to be more flexible organizational designs without the departmentalization. So, sa structure na to, yung mga managers natin is nag-act as facilitators, coaches, and mentors. Let's proceed. Ilan pa yung time? Yung boundaryless organization naman. Si boundaryless organization naman, ito yung organization whose design is not limited by, kung limited by to the horizontal, yung traditional structure natin, vertical or external boundaries imposed by yung predetermined na, oh, hey, ito lang dapat. So ang nakabuo ng term na to na boundaryless is yung GE chairman na si Jack Welch. Ano sinasabi niya? So kailangan daw natin i-eliminate yung vertical and horizontal boundaries na ginamit niya doon sa company niya na GE. So it break down the external barriers between the company and its customer and suppliers. So ang sabi niya dito is nagiging flexible and unstructured daw yung effective doon sa company nila. So, ganun din yung mga gagamit sa organization na to. Sa kanila, ang ideal structure ay hindi dapat rigid, hindi dapat bounded, at hindi dapat predefine yung structure. So, ito yung sinasabi ni boundaryless organization. Meron din tayong tinatawag na virtual organization, and I think mas na-highlight ito or mas naging familiar tayo because of the COVID-19. Ang sabi naman sa virtual organization is consist of a small core of full-time employees and outside specialists temporarily hired as needed to work on projects. So the type ng ng work na to is usually yung mga research work, sales, marketing, and mga social media development kung saan yung kailangan lang is computer and online access. So some organizations na structure siya na lahat ng employees parang tinatawag na virtual employees. So ito yung virtual organization natin. So kailangan lang ng computer access and yung isang mother na nagmo-monitor ng mga output ng ating mga employees. Now, for the task force, ano naman tong task force? Ang task force ay tinatawag ding ad hoc committee. A temporary committee formed to tackle a specific short-term problem affecting several departments. So, ang task force member, usually, sila yung nagpe-perform ng many, parang yung may normal din silang mga designation, pero nag-serve sila sa task force. May kailangan tayong i-solve na problem, so kailangan nila yung expertise nila o kailangan yung abilities nila to work on this certain project. However, yung mga members na to, kapag may problema talaga, kailangan talaga nilang mag-collaborate para ma-solve yung issue. And kapag tapos na yung issue or tapos na yung problema, balik ulit sila dun sa normal na taskings nila. So ito yung si task force. How about the open innovation? So dati, yung mga businesses or mga companies, sila yung nag-generate lang ng sarili nilang product, develop their own ideas, manufacture their market, and deliver those products to the customers. Pero sinasabi ni Open Innovations, ang company open mag-search for new ideas beyond the organization's boundaries and allowing innovations to easily transfer inward and outward. Ang sample nito is si Under Armour. Anong ginawa ni Under Armour? Ang ginawa ni Under Armour, gumawa siya ng isang division niya. Ang tawag niya doon is Idea House. So ang tawag kay Idea House, isa siyang online platform na available sa lahat ng employees and for the public, kung saan pwede sila mag-submit ng idea or new product or i-improve yung isang product na existing na sa organization. So isa sa mga naggawa or nabuo ni Under Armour because of this Idea House is yung recharge nilang tinatawag, kung saan ito ay parang compression suit na tumutulong sa muscle para mas madali makarecover kapag nag-undergo ka ng vigorous activity. So, ang daming pwedeng gawin dito sa company kapag meron silang open innovation na division. So, that's the open innovation. Now, there are also benefits and drawbacks ng open innovation. I'll give you a few. So, kung titingnan niyo yung number 2, it allows organization to respond to complex problems. Ibig sabihin, mas makapag-respond yung organization kapag with so many problems, mas madali siyang, ano ba yung trend ngayon? Ano ba yung kailangan? Ano ba yung customer na dinidemand ng customer? So, mas madali kapag ginagamit ng open innovation. However, dahil sobrang open nga, kailangan din ng extensive support, and at the same time, parang ito yung number 1, high demands of managing process. So mas kinakailangan din ng managerial process and systems. Ito yung open innovation. Now, ilang minuto na ba ako? So, i-compress ko lang to yung sa work arrangement. Dadaanan ko lang si work arrangement. I'll give you few para matandaan natin kung ano yung mga work arrangement natin. Si telecommuting, 2 terms or 2 phrases na kailangan nating tandaan: work at home and computer. Ito ay isang work arrangement which employees work at home and are linked to the workplace by computer. So kailangan pa din, ang challenge dito is kailangan dapat may access, may laptop, and at the same time malakas talaga yung internet. Yan si telecommuting. Si compressed work week naman, ang ibig lang sabihin nito, nagtatrabaho siya longer hours per day, pero mas kokonti yung days niya na tatrabahuin per week. Ibig sabihin, for example, nagtrabaho siya ng Monday ng mas mahabang oras, sa per week niya, pwede lang siyang 3 days na nagtatrabaho per week. So, ito yung employees work longer hours per day but fewer days per week. Si flex time naman, ito ay scheduling system kung saan yung mga employees natin are required to work a specific number of hours a week, pero free na sila to vary those hours within certain limits. And last is the job sharing. Ang job sharing naman is when, na-discuss yata to ni Ma'am Retad. Ayun. Parang sinabi niya na when 2 or people split a full-time job. So hati lang sila. Bukod dun sa, kunwari may isang role doon, paghatian ng dalawa, 1 or more people. So ito yung job sharing. Now, we're done discussing the traditional and contemporary design. Kapag sinabi nating traditional, ito yung simple, divisional, and functional. Kapag sinabi naman nating organization, papasok na dyan yung open innovation, boundaryless, and other things. Now, what are my key takeaways dito sa report? The organizational design is indeed an interesting topic of the organization. Kumbaga, sa chapter 11 siya. So I have listed 3 of my takeaways while studying this report. Number 1, organizational design plays a big part in accomplishing the organizational goal. So we have seen big successful companies like yung example natin kanina, si Toyota, how they invest yung resources in the organizational per se. And its effect is mind-blowing. So hindi naman ganun ka-successful si Toyota kung hindi siya naglalaan ng mga enough resources and time talaga to rethink and to reorganize yung mga structure nila. Then number 2, organizations will be more flexible. I'm still... Hello, sir? Sir, naririnig pa ba ako, sir?
Yes po.
Yes, sir. Konti na lang, sir. Organizations will be more flexible in the future. Ano ibig sabihin nito? We have seen yung during COVID time na yung mga companies adjusted their work arrangement as well as their structure. So more on ginamit nila yung inano natin kanina na flex time, mga ganun yung mga ginamit nilang work arrangement. And other design is yet to be discovered that will change the organizational of companies and organizations. So we will see work demands that will not require organizations to house large number of workers in one place. Kumbaga, gone are the days na may mga ganon. So makakakita tayo in the future na mga ganong companies na wala na talagang parang house or headquarters. And finally, in terms of organizational structure, so organization needs to be fluid and innovative. Ano ba yung kailangan ngayon sa yung sa present situation ko? So those are my takeaways regarding this this report. And yung references lang, nag-focus lang ako dun sa reference na binigay sa atin ng ating professor. And at the same time, parang I use parang internet to read more and to have parang access, yung access dun sa pagkaka-explain, at the same time mga examples, mga companies na gumagamit nito for us to keep updated dun sa mga information. And I use also Google Images para hindi masyadong clouded yung yung presentation ko. So again, these are my references and I did some readings and I hope may mga takeaways kayo. You took something out of this report. So that ends my presentation and thank you. I'm now ready for any questions, Professor Sir.
Thank you, Sir Jepoy, for the presentation. I'm hoping, I'm encouraging everyone who have, rather to share their inputs on the chat box rather than having the actual convo for us to, to hasten up all of the topics that are assigned for tonight. No? But with that, Sir Jepoy, thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
Let's now proceed to the next presenter. If there's
Once again, good evening, sir, and good evening, classmates. I'm JT Rojas, presenting to you the first topic of leading one of the management process of management process from controlling, planning, and then leading. So for this role is for this presentation, I just share to you that this discussion and pag-uusap ay mayroong Chatham House rules, so meaning that to maximize sharing ideas without compromising from kung saan kanino manggaling ang mga ideas na yun. Of course, this is an unrestricted presentation. Open source naman to, so everything can share this. But somehow, as I have said, Chatham House rule proceeds pa rin. So with my topic, chapter 14, interpersonal and organizational communication. So to start with this topic, i-share ko lang sa inyo na nung bata pa ako is yung communication is nakatanim na sa akin talaga. Yung nanay ko sinabi na pamati, hindi ka makurian, meaning makinig ka lang para hindi ka masaktan. So yun yung hanggang ngayon is na katanim pa rin sa isipan at puso't isipan ko yan to listen and to attentively just to avoid para hindi ka masaktan. So with my topic, the learning objectives here is to define the nature and function of communication, the described methods and challenges of interpersonal communication, as well as that all the students will develop the skills of listening effectively and know how to overcome barriers to communication. And last, the learning objective is to explain how communication can flow most effectively in organization. To achieve this learning objective is my scope of presentation, the nature and function of communication, methods, and effective organizational communication with takeaways. So with this, what is communication really? So may I ask may I ask classmates and even the our professor to share via slido.com to share what is really communication means, no? Kung ano talaga yung communication. You can share with that in the slido.com using the code number sign 5245461, or just grab your smartphone there in your table and scan the QR code para mabilis lang. This is to encourage everyone to share your ideas na kung marinig yung communication, ano ba talaga yung unang pumapasok sa isip niyo? Just share your thoughts about it for around 3 to 4 no? 3 to 4 words or 2 words maybe.
Sir, without scanning the QR code, can I share or have a definition of the communication? based
Okay,
on my-
sure, sir.
For me, sir, communication is a interaction between the speaker and the listener po.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anything na pwedeng ma-share sa slide do? Or you can pop it up while we're having this discussion. Anyway, sir, to continue kasi kailangan natin ng oras. May limited time tayo. The communication is based from the management with the reference that our good professor given to us is communication is the transfer and understanding of meaning. So, kung makikita nyo, sir, andyan yung word na transfer and understanding, no? Nakikita nyo ba, sir, yung ano? Yun, transfer and understanding of meaning. Kasi pag basic, pag hindi na like for example sa text, pag hindi na send, message failed, so communication has not been hasn't taken place. Or kung na-send man siya, successfully sent, but was not the receiver was not able to understand, still the communication hasn't taken place. But how will we know if the communication is successful? For communication to be successful, the meaning must be imparted and understood. Later written in, like for example, yung kanina na binigay ko na pangaral ng aking nanay is from local dialect, pero siyempre hindi naman lahat sa atin nakakaintindi ng dialect na yon. Siyempre na translate ko to Tagalog na kung saan maintindihan lahat. And that in that case, the transfer and understanding of meaning and intindihan, imparted and understood, well, that be the communication be successful, no? Andun yung transfer, andun yung understanding of meaning ng message. To continue, there are 4 major functions of communications. Pag gising natin, pag almusal natin sa bahay, pagpasok natin sa trabaho, sa eskwela, pagbalik natin, lahat yan gumagamit ng communications. Even sa pagbayad ng pamasahe sa jeep or sa tricycle or whatever. Lahat yan gumagamit ng communication. It can be verbally, non-verbally, or even body languages. Communication and the function of communication first is the control, no? Para for example dito sa unit natin sa Navy, all the personnel are dinadaan sa communication para makontrol yung mga for the policies, for the behavior, for the moral, and we are using organizational hierarchies and formal guidelines that the personnel are expected to follow. Motivation, of course, communication acts to motivate by clarifying to employees what is to be done, how well they are doing, and what can be done to improve performance if it's not up to par. No? Yan lang, motivation to communicate para mabigyan ng yung mga personnel on what to do and And of course, it can be through communication, how to to deliver intrinsic or extrinsic motivations. Emotional expressions, yan. Yan yung one of the major functions of communication, emotional expressions. Dinidadaan natin sa communication through yung mga kung ano yung mga emosyon na meron tayo, and of course information. So what we are doing now, I'm sharing the information, everybody is sharing the information through discussion by means of communication. Hindi nga lang siya face to face, but somehow online we are still doing the communication if those the message has been transferred and understood. Next is the communication process. Part of the interpersonal communication is the communication process, wherein there are 7 elements involved in transferring meaning from one person to another. This is a part of the interpersonal communication, where communication between 2 or more people sending or receiving messages. The 7 elements of interpersonal communication process starts with basically from the sender expressed a message to be conveyed, and it passes between a source to the receiver. This message is converted to symbolic form, like may mga yun yung encoding, and passed by way of some medium or channel to the receiver, who retranslates the sender's message by decoding and pass on back to the sender by means of feedback. So this illustration, the elements of the communication process, note that the entire process is susceptible to what is called noise. No? Noise is any disturbances that interfere with the transmission, receipt, or feedback of a message. Kahit ano to, noise includes illegible print, static or unstable signal, background sounds, machineries, etc., etc. To continue, there are several methods of communications. One of which is yung ginagawa natin ngayon, teleconferencing, online class, face-to-face. And there are a comparison of communication methods. So yung face-to-face, as you can see in the slide, for example, yung face-to-face, there's a high feedback potential during face-to-face, but in low feedback potential yung mga publications, no? Some methods of communications is non-verbal communication, the communications transmitted without words. So yun yung mga basic example ng non-verbal communication is yung kung nagliligpit na yung mga employee or personnel, meaning malapit na yung alas 5 para malapit na yung uwian. So those are some examples of non-verbal communications. Body language, of course, gestures, facial configurations, and other body movements that convey meaning. So yun yung maraming mga example nito is yung naglulungkot-lungkutan, gusto nang mag-apply ng leave, yun. Verbal intonations, an emphasis given to words or phrases that conveys meaning. Yan, yung kung minsan yun, naglulungkot-lungkutan niya, tapos nakausap nga may galit na superior, ganun yung mga yung some samples of verbal intonation that emphasis given to words or phrases. So to continue, there are challenges of interpersonal communications. These challenges are called communication barriers. One of these is the cognitive basic example ng cognitive dito is information overload wherein when information exceeds our processing capacity. Lalo na pag mga nag-sunset na or sama kung talagang from sunrise to sunset yung work mo, of course, tendency that pag sunset, there are information overload na. Another is filtering, the deliberate manipulation of information to make it appear more favorable to the receiver. So kung ano lang yung information that needs to be ma-receive or ma-understood. Next, emotions. How a receiver feels influences how he or she interprets it. And of course, extreme emotions are most likely to hinder effective communications. Yan yun nga, yung paggalit ng girlfriend mo or yung partner mo, set aside first the emotions. Wag magawa ng mga decisions that na pwedeng pagsisihan after. Sociocultural, like for example, kung halimbawa tayo dito, we are all Navy, we are using Navy, but somehow we have different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, different ethnicity, and different dialects or languages that are used in sa magano ng communication as a group, like for example dito sa Philippine Navy or the Navy, in general may mga naval terms or terminology na ginagamit. Those are jargon, called jargon, specialized terminology or technical language that members of a group use to communicate among themselves. So may mga jargon. Those are barriers na kung minsan hindi natin alam yung mga audiences natin na we are using unintentionally, we are using some jargons na hindi maintindihan ng other audiences. How to overcome those barriers? Of course, use feedback, basic na basic. Dito sa organization natin, mahalaga yung feedback. Simplify language. Listen actively. Yun, yung listen actively, as I have said before, na yun yung sinabi sa akin ng nanay ko, that to listen actively is to show empathy. Yun yung you put yourselves in the stand ng sender or ng nagsasalita, no? Show interest by making eye contact, don't interrupt, paraphrase, and of course ask questions. Constrain emotions. Yun, yung sinasabi kanina, yung mga emotional expressions. Watch non-verbal cues. Yan. So, effective organizational communication. Organizational communications are defined, all the patterns, the networks, and systems of communications within an organization. It includes formal versus informal. Formal communication that takes place within prescribed organizational work arrangements. Informal naman is it's not defined by the organizational structure hierarchy. And of course, an organizational communication, there are different flow or direction of flow. It can be downward communication, upward, lateral, or diagonal. Downward flows from a manager to employees or from your boss or your superior down to your subordinates. Upward flows from employees to managers. Lateral takes place among employees on the same organizational level, and diagonal cut across work areas and organizational levels. Communication networks, these are the variety of patterns of vertical and horizontal flows of organizational communication. It can be chain, well, all channel, and grapevine is part of an informal organizational communication network. Itong communication network, chain with a different criteria, according to the formal chain of command, both downward and upward, yung chain. It can be both downward and upward. Speed of the communication there is moderate, accuracy is high, emergence of leader or member satisfaction is moderate. These are the comparison of different communication networks that we are using, with a different criteria, with the speed, accuracy, emergence of leader, and member satisfaction. Tingnan nyo na lang yung comparison nila of the different communication networks. And workplace design and communication, merong mga different workplace design should successfully support for 4 types of employee work. Parang na-discuss ito before. One is the focus. Work is when an employee needs to concentrate on completing a task. It can be, pwede siyang magkulong sa isang cubicle or room to have a focused collaboration. Employees need to work together to complete a task. Learning is when employees are engaged in training or doing something new and could involve both focused work and collaboration. And last is socialization, happens when employees informally gather to chat or to exchange ideas. Because socialization can be done in open workplaces like shown in the slide, no? It pure physical barriers and enclosures na pwede kayong mag-usap-usap, you can tap each other, share each other's ideas, no? And lastly, what my key takeaways here is that communication is the transfer and understanding of meaning. Yan. It must be imparted and understood. Interpersonal communication is communication between 2 or more people. Likewise, organizational communication includes all the patterns, networks, and systems of communications within an organization. It involves the functions of communication, as I have said, controlling, motivating, providing, and fulfillment of social needs and providing information. But finally, my key takeaway, sir, is that a key to success in management and in your career is knowing how to be an active listener. Yan lang yung key takeaways ko doon na I have seen in my first slide is yun yung naitanim talaga itanim sa akin ng nanay ko on how to be an effective communicator. Maging effective communicator is to be kailangan maging active listener ka rin, no? As what the sender of the message put efforts on it, ganun din yung mga receiver must put efforts to receive the message, understand it, and understand the meaning of the message and to give feedback. Before I close, I want to share some video ng communication here. Nakikita nyo ba, sir?
Yes po, sir. Pero yung video, sir, hindi pa po namin nakikita.
Video. Yung video, sir, okay na?
Not yet, sir. I think
Not yet.
hindi po yata nag-active yung hyperlink na in-attach nyo sa presentation. Ayan,
Yes, sir.
meron na po. Yep, meron na po, sir.
How about the volume, sir? Okay.
Yep, sir. Okay naman po.
May klase pa. May klase pa.
Sir, I believe parang nawala po yata yung sound.
For listening. So yun yung key takeaways ko talaga doon sa short clip, short video clip. Minsan na tayo dito siguro may pamilya, but somehow I hope that you receive the message of that very short video clip. Ganun sa pag kung how you receive the message nung nag-start tayo ng presentation. That is the minsan lagi doon tayo lagi minamalas na we are very busy na minsan na yung mga nasa pamilya natin kinakausap na tayo. Marami na tayong pinagkakabisihan. So yun, lalong-lalo na yung lagi nilang hawak yung mga gadgets. That ends my presentation, sir. Thank you very much.
With that, is there any other knowledge you would like to share or other input regarding with the? But for that, we're not yet done closing the chapter because it will be followed. So this is the part 1, it's assigned to Sir J. The next one would be Ma'am Christine Salcedo.
Sir, if I may ask, sir, is my audio and can you already see my presentation, sir? And can you hear my audio, sir?
Yes, ma'am. It's clear.
Yeah, yes, sir. Sir, actually, an honest mistake. I just would like to share that I made the whole chapter 14, but I just came across that I'm tasked to report chapter 14.4 to 14.16, and I'll go directly to that topic, sir.
Yes, ma'am. I think you were assigned actually only
actively.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
14.4 to 14.6.
Yes, sir. So I will be discussing to continue the report of Sir J. Rojas, sir. I'm tasked to describe the learning objectives of my topic, describe how the internet and social media affect managerial communication in organizations, summarize communication issues in today's organization, and discuss how to become a better communication. I actually prepared 3 slides only for this, sir. So allow me to proceed and go directly to those slides. Okay, sir. The role of internet and social media in organization and communication. Technology has indeed changed the way we live and work. It has created a 24/7 work environment as it is possible to stay connected around the clock and work from anywhere. Social media allows managers to communicate through one channel and encourages sharing experiences. While information technology, on the other hand, allows collaborative work, but managers must also be cautious that they do not overuse technology and impede creativity. Managers must also choose the right media for the message they are sending. First topic is working from anywhere. As the image shows, or same po sa ginagawa ko ngayon, technology is really powerful. We have our means of internet connection. So long that we have the laptop, we have the source of internet, anywhere we can do everything. We can anywhere we can communicate with our coworkers or to our managers at any time, at any place. So basically, as the image shows, wireless communication technology has the ability to improve work for managers and employees. Internet access is increasingly available through Wi-Fi and wireless access hotspots, and the number of these hotspot locations continues to grow. As wireless technology continues to improve, we'll see more organizational members using it as a way to collaborative and share information without the need to work in the same place. But this growing wireless technology also has its negative impact. Imagine being in a short vacation where we are spending a limited time with our family, and this can easily be interrupted when receiving a sudden call from work that needs an urgent action. So basically, meron din pong downside yung working from anywhere. Though it's very easy and accessible for us to communicate and to comply those urgent matters, but nadi-disturb naman po yung personal life natin. So there should be a balance. So we will discuss more of this on how do we overcome these issues of the role of internet and social media in today's organization. Next is choosing the right media. We've reviewed a variety of communication media in this chapter. Now it becomes important for managers to understand the situation in which one or more media facilitates effective communication. Electronic media includes social media, email, and instant messaging. These are all effective and efficient methods of communicating relatively straightforward information to one or more individuals. For instance, electronic communication is appropriate for announcing media times, locations. However, exchanging confidential information about an employee's performance. So basically, when we choose the right media for announcement, we can use our Viber accounts. We can use, like for sa class natin, sir, we're using the messenger for the purpose of announcements and FYI information, sharing of ideas. The chat box, basically, dito sa ating Zoom, we're using it to communicate, to share our idea. However, may limit because we have to also understand that there are confidential information na dapat ay i-conduct siya face-to-face. I-analyze siya face-to-face, pag-usapan siya face-to-face. So we should know the barrier between choosing the documents that we upload in the social media or the conversation or the topics that we are discussing in the social media. Next is the 24/7 work environment. Before, most employees really communicated after traditional work hours. That because it was not convenient to do so. Technology has made it possible to stay connected around the clock 7 days per week. And it has radically changed the way organizational members communicate. For example, IT has significantly improved a manager's ability to monitor individual and team performance. It has allowed employees to have more complete information to make faster decisions and has provided employees more opportunities to collaborate and share information. In addition, IT has made it possible for people in organizations to be fully accessible at any time, regardless of where they are. Employees don't have to be at their desk with their computers running to communicate with others in an organization. So the 24/7 working environment also creates a negative impact to the employees. Even in the middle of the night or at dawn, this happens. But on our case naman, sir, because we are mga sandalo nga po, so we have to be ready 24/7 at any time of the day. If duty calls, we have to respond to the situation. Sa mga ibang naman po, like sa mga corporation, organizations, this enabling the 24/7 working environment has a downside. Kasi for example, in a simple lang dinner with your family, where you're expected to have that time, spending time with your family, exchanging conversation, but you get interrupted because of emails, because of works, and you have to step out of the table kasi you have to comply, kasi accessible. Pwede kang tawagan, pwede kang kulitin, and once nakita na scene ni manager, for example, or ni senior officer na scene, but you're not even responding to that. So anong magi-implicate nito? So what's gonna be happen? What's gonna happen for that action? So there are really downside and there are also advantages. And again, we just have to manage and to balance that. Next is the social media. Because of social media, communication and information travel faster. The world seems to get smaller and smaller. We can interact with all these employees in a snap. Geographically setting is no longer an issue. And through social media, wide number of platforms make it possible for managers to connect with his or her employees. Fostering connection, getting latest updates on trending topics, useful to an organization to keep up with the fast-changing world, changing creativity, getting latest updates, sharing views and opinions about everything, enhances customer engagement for business while helping small business. So basically, through the use of social media, madali lang po i-share yung mga best practices, madali lang tayong mag-share ng mga techniques. For example, sa stock market, how do we do this, how do we do that, and mga studies, bakit biglang bumaba or biglang tumaas. So there's just there's so many platforms that we can that the managers can take advantage of. But there are also disadvantages to this. One is decrease in quick-witted skill. Quick-witted skill is thinking fast and responding in significantly shorter periods. However, on social media, a lot of time is spent crafting response to comments and posting relevant contents. As a result, there has been a significant decrease in quick-witted skills, contributing to quality of conversations. Another thing is yung fast face-to-face conversation. Nawawala na yung face-to-face conversation kasi normally we tend to rely on social media. Hacking, it is also one of the most severe drawbacks of social media that affect most of the organization, making it an easy access to those capable of performing such. Problems with privacy, sharing inappropriate information because one employee feels that she is fairly treated. Like sa mga, for example, in an organization, if they think na bias yung boss nila or yung employees nila, they can just easily air out yung grievances, yung negative, making the company or the organization look bad. Dito naman papasok yung diniscuss ni Sir kanina na ni Sir Jay, yung control, yung function ng communication as a control. Because the policy of a company, for example, in our organization, yung chain of command is really being followed. So basically, we know whom to talk to. We should talk to our OIC first before we air out to social media or to anyone. Kasi there are policies and there would be disadvantages and we will be facing punishment if we just freely air out our grievances. Next is health issues. Through social media, we can just do everything while sitting or even lying. So affected din yung health issues natin dito and yung physical fitness routines. So there always has to be a limitations on the use of social media. Next is the balancing the pluses and the minuses. Communication and the exchange of information among organizational members are no longer constrained by geography or time. Collaborative work efforts among widely dispersed individuals and teams, sharing of information, and integration of decisions and work throughout an entire organization have the potential to increase organizational efficiency and effectiveness. However, companies need to guard against relying exclusively on IT for collaborative work. For example, constantly staying connected has its downside, such as impeding creativity, as I have mentioned earlier, and managers should not forget the psychological drawbacks. For example, what is the psychological cost of an employee always being accessible? Will it lead to increased pressure for employees to check in even during their off hours? And how important it is for employees to separate their work and personal lives? These questions don't come with easy answers, and managers will have to face these similar issues as well. With these emerging issues, how do managers manage communication issues in today's organization? Let's take a look on the next slide. So this is how we manage communication issues in today's organization. Managers are learning the hard way sometimes. That is, all this new technology has created special communications challenges. The two main ones are legal and security issues and lack of personal interaction. Legal insecurity, yun po yung diniscuss ko earlier na pag nag-upload po tayo ng documents, especially in our organization, meron tayong tinatawag na sorting. We sort those confidential, restricted, and those na visible lang sa mata ng specific na mga officers kasi we are very particular on the security and the legality of the documents. So managers need to be aware of potential legal problems that could result from inappropriate usage of electronic information that is potentially admissible in court. Manager needs to ensure that confidential information is kept confidential. Corporate computers and email systems should be protected against hackers and spam. Sorting of classified documents should be one of the best practices here. There are documents that are tagged as confidential or should not send through email or any social media app since electronic information is potentially admissible in court. But legal problems aren't the only issue. Security concerns are as well the problems. Security breaches, as a reminder, that computer networks are not impenetratable. Kaya madami pong before na napepenetrate, na hack. Kaya we should be very careful, especially sa mga organization dealing with, companies dealing with credit card information ng mga customers. So it is very important na to save this information on file. Kasi pag and anytime na na-access and na-breach ang security, then ang large problem will occur. So thus, personal interaction still plays an important role to address legal and security matters. Next is managing the organization knowledge resources. One way organization can do this is to build online information databases that employees can access. It may be an interactive website that allows agent to access marketing data and other product information. The sales agent can question company experts about products or search an online knowledge bank. In our end, we have this database wherein makikita lahat yung personal files in case of accessing personal information ng mga personnel namin in such a way na madali lang po namin itong ma-access. We also have sa Barko, we have the SORM. Ang SORM naman po namin is yung mga policies program and na nandyan po na implemented sa Barko para maging madaling accessible sa lahat kung paano i-operate or during exercises, ano po yung mga dapat i-implement. Let us remember that organization can manage knowledge by making it easy for employees to communicate and share their knowledge, which can help them learn from their other ways to do their jobs more effectively and efficiently. One way is through information databases. Getting employee input. In today's challenging environment, companies need to get input from their employees. Let's talk about suggestion box. So basically, before, when I was still working in a private company, buhay na buhay po yung suggestion boxes. Dito po namin nilalagay yung mga recommendations namin, how to lift the morale ng mga personnel, and also kung ano po yung nakikita namin na area that needs improvement. Also applicable on our organization sa AFP, we conduct this commander's time, CO's time. During this time naman po, nire-raise namin yung lahat ng mga concerns, nire-raise namin paano ma-improve yung moral and welfare for citing, for example, yung mga leaves, passes, R&R, team buildings. So dito po yun pumapasok, yung getting employee input. Communicating ethically. Ito po yung next. It's particularly important today that a company's communication efforts be ethical. Ethical communication includes all relevant information as true in every sense, and it is not deceptive in any way. On the other hand, unethical communication often distorts the truth or manipulates audiences. What are some ways that companies communicate unethically? Example, it could be by omitting essential information, not telling employees that an impending merger is going to mean some of them will lose their jobs is unethical. It is unethical to plagiarize, which is presenting someone else's words or other creative product as your own. And it would be also unethical communication to selectively misquote or misrepresent numbers, distort visuals, and fail to represent privacy or information security needs. So how can managers encourage ethical communication? One way is to establish clear guidelines for ethical behavior, including an ethical business communication. There are guide questions on how the managers can establish this. First is, has the situation been defined fairly and accurately? Why is the message being communicated? How will the people who may be affected by the message or who will receive the message be impacted? And does the message help achieve the greatest possible good while minimizing this possible harm? So the answers to this will lead to the managers on encouraging ethical communication. Next is the role of communication and customer service. We all have been customer and many times, and na feel natin how it is to be treated nicely. So one way for this is for managers to have a database again, for especially for the repeat customers. So basically what can they do is to input the data, personal data, in a way that and the next time na mag-visit ulit yung same customers, and for example, malaman nila na they will be celebrating an anniversary or birthday, so they can prepare something before yung customer or yung repeat customer would go to the, for example, sa room na kinuha nila, family gathering, they could surprise their customers for that. So that is implementing effective customer service. And for my next slide, sir, how to become a better communicator. So most managers will tell employees that becoming an effective communicator is one ingredient of a successful career. And I strongly agree to this. We should always take the opportunity to improve our communication skills. In addition to the listening skills na binigyan ng emphasis ni Sir Jay, and which was as well discussed on the first part of Sir Jay's report. And other communication skills include persuasion, speaking, writing, and reading. And let's briefly look at each of this. For sharpening persuasion skills, let me share a quote. It is true what they say that words are the true weapons. Those who fight with steel are limited to the strength of their arm, the reach of their blade, and the timing of their stride. But those who fight with persuasion knows no limits, not time, nor status, nor change, by A.J. Darko. So successful managers demonstrate good persuasion skills. Persuasion skills enable a person to influence others to change their minds or behavior, and it goes a long way with no limitations. As Darko puts it, persuasion is a powerful tool that can move mountains. A manager can rally person around and persuade them to work together and achieve a common goal. Managers can do many things alone, but a manager can do much more if he or she convinces people to follow you. So persuasion is an effective skill in an organization, as it is about convincing someone to agree with or do something. Second is sharpening speaking skills. Let me share this passage. Improving your speaking skills can make life more fulfilling in many levels. This holds true because speaking is a medium that we use every day. And the ability to communicate effectively and to speak in a crowd help us develop our confidence, leading to career advancement and strengthens critical thinking skills. So I still remember during our NOCC, it's part of our course requirement. We were quickly trained by Toastmasters. Tinuruan kami on how to write and to speak effectively in front of the crowd. So this way, this is one way of sharpening our skills. For example, this presentation, sir. This is as well one way of sharpening our speaking skills, and the Toastmasters training as well will help us sharpening our speaking skills and develop our confidence in front of the crowd. Next is sharpening our writing skills. So if how Stephen King puts it, if you want to be a writer, you must do two things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. And when asked how do you write, I invariably answer one word at a time. The first quotation tells us that taking time when writing is a good habit. In creative writing and first draft, we normally write everything in a stream of our consciousness. So sinusulat lang po natin lahat, then draft comes along, then evaluation, and eliminate necessary information and correct our grammar, and finally we come to our final output. Though we normally use a direct and short message on a corporate world, it is still best to practice taking time when writing and only press the send button or print the output after drafting, revision, and editing. Because writing gives an impressions to our leaders and as well to our managers and of course to our customers. And developing this skill enhances business communication, highlight credibility, helps get persuasive points across, can improve office administration, demonstrate courtesy and respect, and also increases confidence. And now I shall proceed in sharpening our reading skills. It has been said that a reader lives 1,000 lives before he dies. The man who never reads lives only once, by George R.R. Martin. Basically, reading can bring us to places we have never been and can give us pictures we have never seen and make us experience to do the things that we have never done before. Every successful person owes his or her success to a good reading habit. And as a society, we're grateful to those who invested in books and cultivated in the reading habit of their children. So basically, in this fast-paced and robotic life, in the digital world, we tend to have no time for non-digital activities such as reading. People are enslaved by technology and have an instant gratification mindset. People spend endless hours watching movies, videos on YouTube, playing video games, or chatting on social media. All the business is making fewer people read these days because fewer parents are reading or investing in library of books. So basically, we should allot time, or managers should encourage to give a lot of reading references to their employees to enhance the reading skills. And our ends in an AFP, sir, we have this reading requirements for a specific rank. So before we get promoted, we should know, or we should familiarize of this reading materials. Kasi these are reading materials indeed very helpful for our current rank. So I find it really effective to read. Kasi if we read, it goes along with writing. If we read, we can write effectively, and it as well enhances and broaden our vocabulary. So in summary, one can become a better communicator through sharpening your active listening, persuasion, speaking, writing, and reading skills. And that ends my report for tonight, sir. And thank you, sirs, ma'am, for listening. And these are my references, sir. I focused on the reference that you shared and some of the internet references as well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Good morning po.
Good morning. Bigyan mo nga ako ng hamburger meal. Tapos yung fries, i-upgrade to large. At yung soft drink to pineapple juice. Tapos yung nameplate mo, tabingi.
Okay, you ordered
Kulang yung ngiti mo. Dagdagan mo. Kailangan. Pati ang mga mata mo, naka-smile.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Good afternoon. Can I take your order?
Bigyan mo ako ng burger steak meal.
Ma'am, would you like to try a peach mango pie to go with your meal?
Mango, iha. Hindi mango. Ulitin mo.
Would you like to try our peach mango pie po?
Better. But no thank you.
Good afternoon. Will that be all, sir? Here's your order, ma'am. Enjoy your meal. Thank you po! Una na ako ah. Mano po, Lola?
Apo, pagbutihan mong trabaho mo, ha? Kung kinakailangan na nandun ako parate. Hanggat kaya ko, susuportahan kita hanggang maging manager ka.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, I just want to ask reaction or insight with regards to the video clips in relation to my topics for understanding and managing individual behavior in an organization or company. Sir Marcelo, sir, permission, sir, to give your insights or reaction, sir.
Good evening, Sir Louie. Good evening, Sir, Ma'am. Thank you for asking. Kagaya ng ibang ibang classmates natin, Sir Louie, parang kumbaga naalala natin, parang isa heartwarming commercial na maalala natin yung mga lola natin. So, kumbaga yung gusto ko ditong tong commercial na to nung napanood ko kasi nga yun nakita natin yung sacrifice nung lola, parang giving constructive saka stern criticism dun sa niya. Kumbaga makikita mo na parang kumbaga yung sacrifice niya, araw-araw siyang pumupunta doon just to give yung constructive criticism dun sa apo niya. And it will remind us na yung love ng mga lola, yung guidance nila sa mga apo nila, parang it will never fade. Kumbaga yung love, guidance, and support, andun palagi yon. So nakakatuwa lang yung Jollibee kasi yung na nakaka-capture kasi nila yung parang masterful storytelling through commercial, and sino-showcase nila yung mga Filipino relationship or unique Filipino traditions natin. So ang ganda in relation naman dun sa magiging topic mo, Sir Luis, parang yun nga, nakita natin kung gaano ka open-minded yung for criticism yung apo. And yung lola naman parang kumbaga makikita mo siya as kumbaga siya yung manager. Alam mo na it's for the good of yung employee yung ginagawa niya. Gusto niyang ma-improve and gusto niyang mag-grow professionally and personally yung mga employee niya. So yun lang sa akin, Sir Louie. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. How about Ma'am Christine Salcedo, ma'am? Can you share your insights or reaction in relation to my topic, ma'am? Yung sa video clips, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. For me, sir, it's more of objective criticism. So it's how we take criticism. It shouldn't be subjective. It should be objective, and we focus on the areas na kailangan natin i-improve rather than take it emotionally and negatively. Also, it's a way of improving our customer service and maintaining our composure in times na may mga ganun tayong customers. Yun lang po, sir.
Thank you, Sir Marcelo, sir. Thank you, Sir Ma'am Salcedo, ma'am. Ma'am, meron pa akong
Sir Louie,
Sir.
I would like to add something about your topic. No? I believe I heard a lot of it, no? But it's a good point that you show some video showing.
Yes, sir.
Actually, it also hints back on how our Filipino culture works. No, Jollibee knows and did some research on how we, socially relate in terms of family structures in the Philippines. As far as I know, I have read in the chat box, so someone like Sir Will also remember his lola, and not many nationalities have this kind of affection in terms of family. At some point, some are liberated, such as in America, though in the majority lahat, but in Philippines, we're very close family. And at somehow, Jollibee hit us, no, very effectively in that kind of commercial, with showcasing also their food. No,
Yes, sir.
that's one part of being a good market strategy.
Yes, sir. By the way, nag-comment din si Ma'am Dolot, ma'am. Ma'am, can you share your reaction or your insight, ma'am? The video clips, ma'am.
Parang sa video pa lang tapos na yung topic natin eh.
Yes, sir. Actually, sir.
Hi, sir. Good evening. Actually, what the videos demonstrated, it's how the Lola give feedbacks another way around. That is improving the customer relationship of her po. At the same time, her po emphasizing how to take positively or politely whatever criticism it has, because that is part of her improvement. That could be part of her improvement to grow as something part of the manager. You're willing to accept whatever it is. Yan lang po.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir Marcelo, sir, Sir Salcedo, sir, Ma'am Salcedo, sir, Sir Brandon, sir, and Ma'am Dolot, ma'am. Ma'am, kindly send your GCash, ma'am, pang Starbucks yun, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for participating, ma'am. So let's proceed to my main topic. Although nakuha niyo na po yung yung topic ko all about, so yun po. So my learning objectives are as follows. So identify the focus and goals of individuals' behavior within an organization. So what is the behavior? The behavior is the actions of people. And next, organizational behavior is the study of the actions of people at work. So all of us are, lahat po tayo, aminado tayo na we want an effective subordinates or employee, ma'am. So managers needs good people skills, and the material in this chapter, ma'am, will draw heavily on the field of study that's known as organizational behavior. So organizational behavior focus on the three major areas. So first is the organizational behavior looks at individual behavior based predominantly on contributions from psychologists. This area includes topics such as attitudes, personality, perception, learning, and motivation. Second is concerned with group behavior. So when you talk about group behavior, which includes the norms, roles, teams, building, leadership, and conflict. So our knowledge about these groups comes basically from the work of sociologists and social psychologists as well. So dito natin na ma-observe kung how we behave in an organization or in a company or say small group natin. And last is organizational aspects. So organizational behavior also looks at organizational aspects, including the structure, the culture, and human resource policies and practices. Next is goals of organizational behavior. So we have 1, 2, 3. So anim po sila. So first is employee productivity. So the goals of organizational behavior are to explain, predict, and influence behavior. So managers need to be able to explain why employees engage in some behaviors rather than others. Predict how employees will respond to various actions and decisions, and influence how employees behave. So dito, we will question ourselves as a manager or as a leader, what employee behaviors are we specifically concerned with? Explaining, predicting, and influencing. So there are 6 important ones have been identified: the employee productivity, absenteeism, turnover, organizational citizenship behavior, job satisfaction, and workplace behavior. So employee productivity is a performance measure of both efficiency and effectiveness. So managers want to know what factors will influence the efficiency and effectiveness of employees. Absenteeism, the failure to show up. It's difficult for work to get done, sir, if employees don't show up. So walang product, walang accomplishments. So next is turnover. Is the voluntary and involuntary permanent withdrawal from an organization. So it can be a problem because of increased recruiting, selection, sir, and training costs and work disruptions. Next, sir, is organizational citizenship behavior. So dito, sir, is a discretionary behavior that's not part of an employee formal job requirements, but it promotes the effective functioning of the organization, sir. And also the job satisfaction refers on employee's general attitude toward his or her job. So although job satisfaction is an attitude rather than a behavior, it is an outcome that concerns many managers. Become satisfied employees are more likely to show up for work. Like for example, sir, if yung employee mo, sir, is very effective, is very dedicated or hardworking, sir, sa work niyo, siyempre, sir, magkakaroon po ng higher level of performance niya. At the same time, you are confident that that employee will stay in an organization. Next, sir, is yung counterproductivity workplace behavior. It is intentional employee behavior that is potential harmful to an organization or individuals within an organization, sir. So next, sir, is explain the role that attitudes play in job performance. So attitudes. We cannot deny the fact in an organization or in a company, we need to accept individual differences. And I believe you agree on me. So attitudes is an evaluative statements, either favorable or unfavorable, concerning objects, people, or events. Lagi natin sinasabi na habaan mo yung pasensya mo. Lagi natin sinasabi na grabe naman, magan man tong senior ko, OIC ko. Kaya sa organization natin, if hindi mo tanggap kung ano siya, o hindi mo tanggap na ganun talaga siya, hindi ka mag-grow. Kumbaga, you are in the stage of quitting. Ay, mag-discharge na lang ako, mag-out na lang ako. Parang ganun. So attitudes are evaluative statements. They reflect how an individual feels about something. So when a person says, I like my job, so he or she is expressing an attitude about work. So an attitude made up of three components like the cognition, affective, and the behavioral component. So ano yung cognitive component? So this is part of an attitude that makes up of the beliefs, opinions, knowledge, or information held by a person. So affective component, it is a part of an attitude that's the emotional or feeling. Then behavioral component, so it is an attitude refers to an intention to behave in a certain way towards someone or something. So dito sa affective component, an attitude using as an example, sir, ma'am, this component would be reflected by the statement, for example, I don't like Christine because he discriminates against minorities. So finally, affect can lead to behavioral outcomes. Next, 15.3 describe different personality theories. So what is personality? And an individual's personality is a unique combination of emotional, thought, and behavioral patterns that affect how a person reacts to situations and interact with others. So in our natural ways, sir, ma'am, of doing things and relating to others, so personality is most often described in terms of measurable traits of a person exhibits. And we're interested in looking at personality because just like his or her attitudes and on how he or she affects the organization or the company and why people behave the way they do. Sabi nga natin sa isang sa atin sa organization natin, nakita natin na parang medyo konti pa lang yung sungay niya, putulin mo na. Kasi kapag lumaki na yung sungay niya, iba na yun. It will lead to discipline, punishment, or magkakaroon pa siya ng administrative case. Next, MBTI. Actually, the resources of Sir Brandon gave to us, ngayon ko lang to na-encounter. Actually, it is part of the psychology subject during my first year
Ang
college.
site talaga
Siguro,
siya dapat.
sir?
Pang site yung topic, pero hopefully, makita natin kung ano yung interpretation pagdating doon sa side naman ng profession natin.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir. So, Myers-Briggs Types Indicator, sir. So, it is a tool which frequently used to help individuals understand their own communication preference and how they interact with others. So, having an awareness of what MBTI, it can help you adapt your interpersonal approach to different situations and audiences. So, as a backgrounder, sir, MBTI is derived in underpinning theory from the work of Carl Jung and psychological type. So Isabel Briggs Myers and her mother Catherine Briggs developed the system to make Jung's work more accessible and useful in people's everyday lives, sir. So this MBTI is a popular personality assessment instrument, sir. So it classifies individuals as exhibiting a preference in 4 categories. So extroversion or introversion, sensing or intuition, thinking or feeling, judging or perceiving. So with this, sir, one popular approach to classifying personality traits is the personality assessment instrument known as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. So as ano lang, sir, idea, this is a 100 question assessment, ask people how they usually act or feel in different situations, and on the basis of their answers, sir, individuals are classified as exhibiting preference in 4 categories, sir. Ito na po yun, sir, extroversion or introversion, sir, sensing or intuition. So siguro, sir, basically sa mga psychology graduate, ito, sir, reflect ito, sir. And this is the example of MBTI personality types as shown. Next, sir, is Big 5 model, personality trait model that includes, that includes extroversion, agreeableness, consciousness, emotional stability, openness to experience. So, in recent years, research has shown that 5 basic personality dimensions underlie all others and encompass most of the significant variations in human personality, sir. So they are the following: the extroversion. Extroversion means, sir, the degree to which someone is sociable, talkative, assertive, and comfortable in relations with others, sir. Agreeableness naman is the degree to which someone is good-natured, cooperative, and trusting, sir. And conscientiousness is the degree to which someone is reliable, responsible, dependable, persistent, and achievement-oriented. And emotional stability is the degree to which someone is calm, enthusiastic, and secure, passive or tense, and nervous, depressed, and insecure, negative, sir. And last, sir, is openness to experience, the degree to which someone has wide range of interests and he or she is imaginative, fascinated with novelty, makaluma, conservative, artistically sensitive, and intellectual, sir. Additional personality insights, sir, is locus control. Locus control is a personality attributes that measures the degree to which people believe they control their own fate. So some people believe they control their own fate. Yes. Many, maraming ganun na tao. Others see themselves as pawns, believing that what happens to them in their lives is due to luck or chance. Tama, marami ako narinig na ganun. The locus control is the first case is eternal. So these people believe they control their own destiny. The locus control in the second case is external naman, sir, ma'am. These people believe their lives are controlled by outside forces. So what is Machiavellianism? Grabe, stutter ng words. So another characteristic is called Machiavellianism, named after Niccolo Machiavelli, who wrote in the 16th century on how to gain Machiavellianism.
Machiavellianism.
Machiavellianism. Okay, Machiavellianism, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mafia.
So, who wrote in the 16th century on how to gain and manipulate power. So an individual high in Machiavellianism is pragmatic, maintains emotional distance, and believes that ends can justify the means. Next, is self-esteem. So self-esteem, yan, always natin naririnig yan. Nawala na ako ng self-esteem, ganito, nalolo moral and everything. So an individual's degree of like or dislike for himself or herself. Maraming ganon na parang bakit pangit ako, bakit ganito, parang nadidistract siya, the way he is, the way she is, parang ganon. So next is self-monitoring. So self-monitoring is a personality trait that measures the ability to adjust behavior to external situational factors. So dito, sir, sa example ko naman, sir, dito sa self-esteem, sir, is that self-esteem is directly related to expectation for success. Yun, nag-expect ka. High self-esteem believe they possess the ability they need to succeed at work. So yun, perfectionist, as an example. Individuals with high self-esteem will take more risks in job selection and are more likely to choose unconventional jobs than people with low self-esteem. Dito, sir, sa high self-esteem, sir, marami pa akong mga classmates during my university. Nurse na siya, tapos, nag-midwife siya, nag-nurse siya, tapos nag-teacher pa siya, nag-law siya. So hanggang ngayon, nasa bahay lang siya. So hindi niya pa alam kung ano pa talaga yung gusto niyang mangyari sa path niya, yung mangyari sa buhay niya or sa career niya, sir. Parang ganun. So yun yung one of the examples, sir, na high self-esteem, sir. Next, sir. Proactive personality. So another interesting that means studied extensively is the proactive personality, sir. So, ma'am, which describes people who identify opportunities, show initiative, take action, and persevere until meaningful change occurs. So not surprisingly, research has shown that proactives have many desirable behaviors that organization wants. So finally, sir, is the resilience. So we cannot deny the fact that economic recession has promoted a reaction of resilience. Marami po yan sa company, sa organization. An individual's ability to overcome challenges and turn into opportunities. A recent study, sir, ma'am, by a global consulting firm showed that it is a key factor in keeping a job. A resilient person is likely to be more adaptable, flexible, and goal-focused. So personality types in different cultures. So no personality type is common for a given country. So yet a country's culture influences the dominant personality characteristics of its people. So explain ko po ito. Sabi nga ma'am, natural cultures differs in terms of the degree to which people believe they control their environment. For instance, like North Americans believe they can dominate their environment. Other societies, such as those in Middle Eastern countries, believe life essentially predetermined. So in this, sir, we notice how closely this distinction parallels the concept internal and external locus of control. On the basis, sir, these particular cultural characteristics, we should expect a larger proportion of internals in the US and Canadian workforces than in the workforces of Saudi Arabia or Iran. In example, sir. Next, sir. Emotions and emotional intelligence. What is emotion? Intense feelings that are directed at someone or something. We cannot deny the fact that even in an organization or a company, pag punong-puno na tayo at tinatago natin kung ano yung ninanaing natin sa isang tao, pag once tayo ay sumabog, aminado tayo na may nasasabi tayo, which is very masakit sa feeling ng iba o sa isang tao na pinagsasabihan natin. So, how we respond emotionally and how we deal with our emotions are typically functions of our personality. So sa organization natin, kapag may nasabi tayong masama, pag may nasabi tayong below the belt sa isang subordinates natin, it will come to worse. Kakaroon na investigation just in case if magre-report siya sa provost marshal. Yun yung example ko. Emotions are intense feelings directed at someone or something. They're object specific. That is, emotions are reactions to an object. What is emotional intelligence? The ability to notice and to manage emotional cues and information. So one area of emotions research with interesting insights into personality is emotional intelligence. This is the ability to notice and to manage emotional cues and information. Oops, nag-exceed na po ako, sir. 25 minutes na po.
That's okay, that's okay.
Okay, sir. So 5 dimensions of emotional intelligence, sir. First is self-awareness, the ability to be aware of what you're feeling. Self-management, the ability to manage one's own emotions and impulses. Self-motivation, the ability to persist in the face of setbacks and failures. Empathy, the ability to sense how others are feeling. And lastly, social skills, the ability to 15.4 describe perception and factors that influence it. Perception, sir, is a process by which we give meaning to our environment, to the organization, and interpreting sensory impressions. So the best documented personality job theory was developed by psychologist John Holland, sir. So who identified 6 basic personality types. This theory states that an employee's satisfaction with his or her job, as well as his or her likelihood of leaving that job. It depends on the degree to which the individual's personality matches the job environment, sir. So factors that influence perceptions are as follows: persevere, target, and situation. So let me go first to persevere, sir. Perception is a process by which we give meaning to our environment, organization, by organizing and interpreting sensory impressions, sir. So research on perception consistently demonstrates that individuals may look at the same thing yet perceived it differently. So one manager, for instance, can interpret the fact that her assistants regularly take several days to make important decisions as evidence that the assistants is slow, disorganized, and afraid to make decisions, sir. Next is another manager with the same assistants might interpret the same tendency as evidence that the assistant is thoughtful, thorough, and deliberate. So with this, sir, the first manager would probably evaluate her assistants negatively, and then the second manager naman, sir, would probably evaluate the person positively. So the point is that none of us sees reality, sir. So we interpret what we see and call it reality, sir. Yung one of the nasa target, sir. 15.5, my last topic. So what do you see? It is a 2 images or 2 illustrations, sir. So the characteristics of the target being observed can also affect what we perceive. So loud people are more likely than quiet people to be noticed in a group as are extremely attractive or unattractive individuals. So may kanya-kanya tayong pag-describe sa isang tao. So with this, sir, the relationship of a target to its background also influences perception, as does our tendency to group closely things and similar things together. So you can experience these tendencies by looking at the visual perception as an example, sir. Next, sir, is attribution theory. So a theory used to explain how we judge people differently depending on what meaning we attribute to a given behavior. So it depends on 3 factors, or distinctiveness, consensus, and consistency. Attribution theory, sir, as shown in illustration niya. Next, sir, is fundamental attribution error, sir. One interesting finding from attribution theory is the errors or biases distort our attributions. So for instance, sir, substantial evidence supports the fact that when we make judgment about the behavior of other people, so we have a tendency to underestimate the influence of external factors and to overestimate the influence of internal or personal factors. So this tendency, called the fundamental attribution error, sir, and can explain why sales manager may attribute the poor performance of a sales representative to laziness rather than to the innovative product line introduced by a competitor, sir. Next, sir, is self-serving bias. This tendency is called self-serving bias and suggests that feedback provided to employees in performance reviews will be distorted by them depending on whether it's positive or negative. Assume similarity. Assume similarity, sir, is the assumption that others are like oneself. So it is to judge others if we assume they're similar to us. So in assume similarity or the like me effect, the observer's perception of others is influenced more by the observer's own characteristics than by those of the person observed, sir. And stereotyping, when we judge someone on the basis of our perception of a group or she or he is a part of, we're using the shortcut called stereotyping. For instance, married people are more stable employees than single persons is an example of stereotyping, sir. Next, sir, is halo effect. When we form a general impression about a person on the basis of single characteristics such as intelligence, sociability, or appearance, we're influenced by halo effects, sir. Operant theory, operant condition theory, a theory of learning that says behavior in a function of its consequences. So operant conditioning argues that behavior is a function of its consequences. People learn to behave to get something they want or to avoid something they don't want. So operant behavior is voluntary or learned behavior, not reflexive or unlearned behavior. Okay. Last two slides, sir. Next, sir, is social learning theory, a theory of learning that says people can learn through observation and direct experience. May four processes, sir, additional processes. So dito, sir, people learn from a model when they recognize and pay attention to its critical features. So we're most influenced by models who are attractive, repeatedly available, thought to be important, or seen as similar to us. Retention process. A model's influence will depend on how well the individual remembers the model's action, even after the model is no longer readily available. Motor reproduction process. After a person has seen new behavior by observing the model, the watching must become doing. And reinforcement processor. Individuals will be motivated to exhibit the model behavior if positive incentives or rewards are provided. Shaping behavior, sir. My last topic, sir. The process of guiding learning in graduated steps using reinforcement or lack of reinforcement. So in this topic, sir, learning takes place on the job as well as prior to it. So managers are concerned with how they can teach employees to behave in ways that most benefit the organization. So dito, sir, maano natin is managers will often attempt to mold individuals by guiding their learning in graduated steps through a method called shaping behaviors. Sir, my takeaway, sir. Productivity is never an accident. It is always the result of a commitment to excellence, intelligent planning, and focused effort by Paul J. Mayer, sir. So as a summary, sir, sa lecture ko, sir, about organizational behavior on how to understand and managing individual behavior, sir. Sabi nga, sir, is that productivity, sir, is an essential component in organization nowadays. It allows us to measure the efficiency of our business, of our organization, of our company in converting inputs into useful outputs. Also, it is a high-level view of how well the resources are managed within the system, sir. So, productivity measures can help you to answer several questions. So, mayroon lang questions are like, how effectively are you managing your assets? Are you improving in key areas? How are you doing compared to your peers? And lastly, sir, by answering these questions, sir, I believe our company, our organization can assess its performance and eventually boost its position in a more and more cooperative market, sir, or organization or company, sir. Sir, that's all for my report, sir. I'm sorry, sir. Medyo mahaba yung report ko. 15.1 to 15.5, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
No worries. It's a very well presented report. Is there any other input? Anyone in the participant would like to share?
Sir, tanong lang po, sir, kung nakikita na yung slide ko, sir.
Yes, sir.
How's my audio, sir?
Bit mushy, but that will be, sir. Kindly, if you're having a wired microphone po, kindly tutok na lang po ng malapit sa lips natin so that we can hear you clear po.
Yes, sir. How about this, sir?
Way better, sir. Clear po.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sirs and ma'am, classmates, once again, good evening. I am Mr. Nel Tapel, and I was assigned to report Chapter 16 about leadership. This topic is not new to us being in the Navy or being in the military, because when we entered the military during our pre-entry days, we already encountered about leadership, specifically military leadership. In fact, we were made to memorize 11 principles of leadership. Ipapa-recitation ko sana ito sa mga classmates, sir, pero due to time constraints, I will just mention a few para maalala ng classmates ang yung 11 principles of leadership. Andun yung know yourself and seek self-improvement, know your men and look out for their welfare, be technically and tactically proficient, and marami pang iba. I'm sure maalala ng mga classmates ko yun, sir. Proceed to my report. Ito yung learning objectives natin. At the end of my report, we must be able to define leader and leadership, compare and contrast leadership and management, compare and contrast early theories of leadership, describe the three major contingency theories of leadership, describe contemporary views of leadership, and discuss 21st century issues affecting leadership. Itong bullet number, sir, hindi ito kasama sa learning objectives na binigay doon sa reference natin. But I opted to include this in my report because leadership and management are sometimes used interchangeably. So, i-compare and contrast lang natin kung ano yung pagkakaiba ng dalawa. Hypothetical questions lang ito, sirs and ma'am. Hindi nyo kailangang sagutin. But hopefully, at the end of my report, sa ating mga sarili, siguro we may be able to answer these questions. Is management the same with leadership? Are all managers leaders? Let us define leaders and leadership. Kung ang tatanungin mo nito is isang pilosopong tropa dito sa Marines, pag tinanong mo, what is leadership? Sasabihin niya sa'yo, sir, leadership is big ship followed by small ships. Pero ito yung totoong definition ng leadership. Leadership is, please take note, sirs and ma'am, yung word na influencing that.
Okay.
So dito po tayo naputol. We defined leadership and leader. Slideshow. And sa akin, at hindi rin galing doon sa reference natin, hiniram ko lang ito sa lecture ng one of the educators in the Philippine Navy, Lieutenant Colonel Christine Salon, Philippine Navy Marines. Hiniram ko lang itong presentation ko from her presentation nung naging instructor ko siya sa NAPDC. According to Warren Bennis, ito daw yung management and leadership. Management is getting people to do what needs to be done, while leadership is getting people to want to do what needs to be done. dito na papasok yung word na influencing. Sabi kanina, influencing the group to achieve goals. So, in leadership, you have to influence your people to want to do what needs to be done. According to Campbell naman, leadership is about change and movement, perceiving the need for a new direction, figuring out where the organization needs to go, formulating a strategy to get there, and motivating employees to make it happen. While management is a matter of consistency and order, setting goals, laying out specific plans and budgets, organizing and staffing with qualified people, and controlling deviations. The way I understand, parang ibig nang ipakahulugan na leadership is more on forward-looking kung saan niya dadalhin ang organization, while management is inward-looking, monitoring or ensuring consistency and order in the organization. According to Stephen Covey naman, management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success, while leadership determines whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. Medyo matalinghaga ito, but I'm sure we can all read between the lines. Mamaya medyo mas magkakaroon ng linaw ito. Peter Drucker defines management and leadership as shown. Medyo matalinghaga din ito, but there is some sort of parallelism with Stephen Covey. Sabi ni Peter Drucker, management is doing things right. Leadership is doing the right things. Baka mamaya gawa ka ng gawa until you have perfected doing this particular thing only to find out na hindi pala yun yung dapat na ginagawa mo. Sabi nga ni Admiral Suarez, we might be doing everything except our job. So, yung leader, it is his job to determine whether your ladder is leaning against the right wall. Now, this is the comparison of the task of a leader and a manager. Sabi dito, leader aim to produce change, while manager aim is predictable, orderly results. The leader involves vision and setting direction, involves aligning people, involves motivating people, while sa manager involves planning and budgeting, involves organizing and staffing, involves controlling and solving. Tuwing magkakaroon tayo ng bagong POIC PN, sirs and ma'am, ano ang unang pinapublish ni POIC o ni Flag Officer in Command? Anybody? O pero mas mabilis tayo. Ako na ang unang commanders and down the line, make sure to make it happen. We have the balanced scorecard to check whether we are on the right track. Nami-meet ba natin ang ating mga targets? At lahat ng nakalagay sa balanced initiatives, merong mga measure owner like CN1, CN2, CN3, and others. Though CN1, CN2, CN3, etc. ay mga leaders in their own offices. Nagiging manager sila in the context of managing POIC PN's balanced scorecard. Another hypothetical question, sirs and ma'am. Are you more of a manager or a leader? Kung ako ang tatanungin, the kind of hat I am wearing depends on the situation. When I was a company commander, I am a leader of the company kasi ako ang nagkukumpas ng direksyon ng aking company like the Fifth Marine Company, for example. Pero binibigyan ako ni batalyon ng aking mother unit ng specific tasks in which nagiging manager naman ako in imposing internal organizing, managing resources, and others. When now come to the learning objective 16.2, the early leadership theories. During earlier times, meron dalawang theories of leadership, the leadership trait theory and the leadership behavior theory. Leadership trait theory suggests that certain individuals are born with innate leadership traits. Kumbaga, ipinanganak na siyang leader at nandun na sa kanya yung traits na dapat meron ang isang leader. While leadership behavior theory, these are leadership theories that identify behaviors that differentiate effective leaders and ineffective leaders. According to leadership trait theory, meron daw 8 traits. Ito na ngayon na associated with effective leadership. Andyan yung drive, desire to lead, honesty and integrity, self-confidence, intelligence, job-relevant knowledge, extraversion, and proneness to guilt. Hindi ko na iisa-isahin yung definitions nito kasi self-explanatory naman ito sa atin. Pero ang sabi ng leadership trait theory, magiging effective leader ka kung if you possess these leadership traits na nakalista dito. Pero in reality, yun na nga, hindi naman natin makukuha lahat. We can't have it all. So, hindi natin mape-perfect ito. In leadership behavior theory naman, there are researchers who studies on leadership behavior that can be associated to effective leadership. Sa University of Iowa, they identified 3 leadership styles: the autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire style. Alam naman natin ito. Familiar na tayo dito, the autocratic style, a leader who dictates work methods, makes unilateral decisions, and limit employee participation. The democratic style, a leader who involves employees in decision-making, delegates authority, and uses feedback as an opportunity for coaching employees. While the laissez-faire style, a leader who lets the group complete the work in whatever in whatever way it sees fit. So, yung parang hindi lang siya masyadong nakikialam, hinahayaan lang yung subordinates niya to complete the task. Ngayon, studies in the University of Iowa concluded that democratic style of leadership was the most effective among these 3. Although, sa later part ng mga studies pa, showed mixed results. Kung minsan, hindi naman palaging democratic style yung pinaka-best na leadership style. Kung minsan, kailangan maging autocratic. And kung minsan, kailangan din maging laissez-faire. In Ohio State, meron namang study in Ohio State using initiating structure and consideration as parameters for identifying effective leadership. Initiating structure, ito yung extent to which a leader defines his or her role and the roles of the group members in attaining goals. Kumbaga, ito, clearly defined ng leader at to what extent ang kanyang role at ng subordinates. Like, pag ganito yung sitwasyon,
Cruise captain lang yun, oh.
pag ganito, ikaw yan. Or pag ganitong level, kay ganito yan. Sa consideration naman, the extent to which a leader has work relationships characterized by mutual trust and respect for group members, ideas, and feelings. Ito yung consideration ng leader sa subordinates, ideas, and feelings. Their study showed that high leader achieve high subordinate performance and satisfaction, but not in all situations. Pag sinabing high leader, ibig sabihin, high siya sa initiating structure at high din siya sa consideration. So, pareho siyang mataas dun sa dalawang parameters na yun. Magiging effective leader daw siya. However, it does not hold true in all situations. In the University of Michigan naman, they classified leaders into employee-oriented and production-oriented. Kumbaga sa atin, ito yung dilemma between mission accomplishment or moral and welfare of the troops. Parang ganun. So, employee-oriented, emphasized interpersonal relationship and relate of employees
As Sir Nel is having a problem, can we go with your topic, sir?
Yes, sir. Magandang gabi, sir.
Sige, sir.
Yes.
You're now allowed to share. Kindly stop sharing, Sir Nel, so that Sir Juan can share his screen.
Sir, good evening. I-confirm ko lang, sir, if my slide is visible.
Yes, sir. It's already visible.
Good evening, sirs. I am Juan Citarosa, and my topic to be discussed is all about motivations. My learning objectives are shown. For learning objectives number 1, how we are going to define motivation. So from our reading materials, it says that motivation refers to the process by which a person's efforts are energized, directed, and sustained toward attaining a goal. This definition has 3 elements: energy, direction, and persistence. So the energy element is a measure of intensity, drive, or vigor. The high-level efforts needs to be directed in a ways that help the organization achieve its goals. Employees must persist in putting forth to achieve these goals. So my classmate, the author simply says that kailangan yung energy or the motivation of our employee or our personnel must be guided to a certain goal and need to be sustained. However, in military perspective, the motivation refers to the force that makes the soldiers keep trying when the challenges seem overwhelming or nearly impossible. So, if you see the picture in my slide, he is my brother-in-law that was wounded 4 days ago dito sa Samar. So, how he keeps moving to fight again is what motivates him. So yun lang naman yung so to give explanation on how military motivates his men. So again, for learning objective number 1, so what motivates you? I just capture it on our reading material. So if nirank natin itong factors that motivates us from number 1 to the very least of our priorities, kung ano yung mag-fall doon sa number 1 is yun daw yung nagmo-motivate sa atin. And on the other hand, pag kinompare natin sila sa iba, very rare na magkakaroon ng pare-parehas yung ranking nito. So it means that every employees or our personnel has different factors para i-motivate natin sila. For learning objective number 2 is to compare and contrast early theories of motivation. As shown, the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, McGregor's theory of X and Y, Hesberg's two-factor theory, and McClelland's three needs theory. So for Maslow's hierarchy of needs, is a theory of motivation which states that 5 categories of human needs dictate an individual behavior. Those needs are physiological needs, safety needs, social needs, or esteem needs, and self-actualization. So for physiological needs, ito daw yung mga basic needs natin like food, drinks, shelters, sexual satisfaction, and other physical needs. However, yung safety needs, those like living or working in a safe condition, having a stable and sufficient source of income, feeling protected from crime or abuse, being in good physical health, or with no serious illnesses. Yung esteem needs naman or social needs involves a healthy positive regard for oneself, self-worth, which is a person feels they have value, competency, and dignity and independence. And for self-actualization naman, ito daw yung self-actualization. According to Maslow, you find motivation in growth and possibility rather than trying to gain what is lacking to you. It simply says na alam mo na daw kung ano ang gusto mo marating. So to further explain what is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I just capture it sa ating reading materials. Ginawa ni Maslow is kinategorize niya those needs into a low order and high order. So this pyramid simply says that physical needs and safety needs is low order, and social needs and esteem needs and self-actualization are high order. So dito natin makikita na, for example, in military, yung mga generals natin or mga seniors natin has a lot of privileges than to junior officers. Kasi every status natin, every journey natin sa ating career has a different motivation. Yun lang naman yung gusto sabihin ni Maslow. So another early theories of motivation are the McGregor's theory of X and Y. This theory pertains to the character of employee depend on the observation or assessment of the managers. According to McGregor, employee is under theory X if they are dislike works and responsibility, continuous monitoring and supervision, rewards or punishment are used. However, employees falls under theory Y if there gives importance to supervision while or they are self-motivated without supervision, giving more responsibility and collaborative. Sa military, tinatawag natin yung mga leader natin minsan na nagpo-fall sa as a manager kasi every details gusto nila pinapansin. However, meron ding mga leader tayo sa military na macro manager sila. They empower their officers to do their job. So as managers, kailangan natin malaman kung yung employee ba natin or personnel natin is fall under theory of X or theory of Y para malaman natin kung paano natin sila i-motivate. So another early theories of motivation is Herzberg's two-factor theory. Herzberg's theory proposed that intrinsic factors associated with job satisfaction were what motivated people. Extrinsic factors associated with job dissatisfaction simply kept people from being dissatisfied. So, for traditional view, according to Herzberg's, itong mga factors na to, hygiene factors, is only will cause no dissatisfaction. Sabi niya, kahit alisin daw natin yung mga hygiene factors na yon, hindi pa rin maapektuhan yung satisfaction or no satisfaction ng ating mga personnel. Another early theories of motivation are McClelland's three needs theory of motivation. So for then McClelland's theory states that every person has one of three main driving motivators: the needs for affiliation, needs for achievement, and need for power. For the needs of affiliation, they care about relationship and their status to the group. So within the Navy, makikita natin na meron talagang mga personnel tayo na magpo-fall na ang nagmo-motivate sa kanila is relationship and status within the group. However, for the need for achievement, they care for opportunities to excel and prefers independence over teamwork. And commonly, they are struggle for in leadership position. So yun lang yung doon, pag yung personnel is need for achievement yung kanyang nagmo-motivate sa kanya. So nag-i-struggle naman siya when it comes to leadership position kasi more on self-achievement and ang nagmo-motivate sa kanya yung laging siya na lang yung number one. However, for need for power, they get things done through others and control people situation. They are potential to be an excellent leader. For learning objectives, number 3, the contemporary theories of motivation. Goal setting theory, reinforcement theory, and job characteristics model. For goal setting theory, at first, the manager and employee meet to discuss certain goal, and they use SMART principle, which is specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. It simply says na for this theory, kailangan malaman agad yung goal na gusto nating ipagawa sa ating mga personnel. Then they will assess the specific job or task to be undertaken. And because it is time-bound, they need to be persistent and extra effort must be undertaken. Then the managers will provide periodic feedback to progress toward goals, also for evaluation. And if they already met the certain goals, they will receive bonus or support. But in contrast, if they not met, they achieve the goals, the pay cut, demotion, or dismiss will be the punishment. For enforcement theory naman, it is a psychological principle suggesting that behavior are shaped by their consequences, and that individual behaviors can be changed through reinforcement, punishment, and extinction. So for positive reinforcement, we positively react to someone's behavior because it benefits our organization. This also assures that individual to repeat their behavior and continue producing desirable outcomes. For example, you can reward employee for reaching office early, and the probability of the behavior getting repeated. For the negative reinforcement naman, it refers to removing obstacles so that others can respond positively and perform the way they expect to. So sa military, maraming ganito. Sa office namin, sabi ko, I'm not requiring them to be present and they come to office always on time, as long that yung mga communication namin na need for action is na-comply namin. So doon nagpo-fall sa negative reinforcement. The punishment reinforcement naman is, as managers, will be the consequences if they are not produce a desired outcome. They are going to be punished if they not do their job. So dito sa punishment, nilalatag agad natin yung mga pwedeng maging punishment nila pag hindi nila ginawa yung kanilang trabaho. So they will be motivated if alam na nila kung ano yung magiging parusa nila. For the extinction naman, reinforcement theory, binibigyan natin ng award or bonus yung ating mga personnel in a certain goal. Pero pagkatapos nilang magawa yung kanilang trabaho, yung goal na yun, na-achieve nila, is tinitigil na natin yung mga reinforcement natin. So for learning objective 3, also is the job characteristics model. There are other types of designing motivating jobs. These are job enlargement and job enrichment, but I chose to discuss the job characteristic model since it will provide an effective framework for managers. The JCM suggests that employees are likely to be motivated when they learn that they personally performed well on tasks that they care about. The more a job is designed around these three elements, the greater the employee's motivation, performance, and satisfaction, and lower his absenteeism and likelihood of resigning. So for my last learning objective is the discuss current issues in motivation. Managing cross-cultural challenges, motivating unique group of workers, designing appropriate awards programs. As shown is the current issues, which is how to manage cultural challenges. The different type on how to manage cross-cultural challenges, since ito na-experience din namin ito sa military. Like for example, in conducting planning for naval exercises, which ang involved is different foreign naval counterparts. So it is our advantage na proficient tayo in speaking and comprehending American or English language. But when it comes to other Asian countries like Japan and Indonesia, Malaysia, medyo mahirap talaga makipag-usap sa kanila. But in understanding their communication style, accept that there will be difference in cultural values and not be frustrated, yun yung key para ma-manage natin yung cross-cultural challenges. So next issues of in motivation is how to motivate a unique group of workers. So from open source, it says that we need to understand our teams, meaning we as managers must get to know our employee to understand what motivates them. Create rewards is an important way to engage and inspire employees. Also, having fun at work can increase employee engagement and motivation. team building, and fun games. One of the most important is to engage the employee in decision making, since they need to feel that we value their opinions. So in the Navy, we call them the lead PT officer empowerment. So my last slide is another issue in current motivation: how to design appropriate rewards. So in designing appropriate rewards, we again need to involve our personnel. You will get some ideas, plus employees will feel vested in the rewards. However, we only need to reward performance behavior that directly impacts the company's strategic goals to avoid favoritism. We need to be specific with individual goals and criteria reward all who make the grade. Also, recognition rewards for small behavior adjustment, such as being on time, collaborating on a team, or minimizing mistakes, can encourage average performance to improve. And of course, as teamwork is critical to success when a team performs well, and reward the whole team to help foster cooperation. So, my takeaway, sir, since a motivation is one of the big part of the make or break of one organization, since if we compare it to corporate, we need to motivate our men to increase productivity, to increase the production. However, in military, sir, motivation is a very big part para sa performance ng aming mga personnel, because it depends on how they are going to perform in times of war, or how they perform to collectively help in providing peace in our country. Sir, thank you. That's all, sir.
Thank you, sir. And what more? I think na-close mo ba, sir? Oh, sir, na-close mo yung chapter 17. So, we have to close and have some summary with regards to chapter 7. So basically, it tackles about motivation and how different management or managers or organizations inject strategies in having their employees motivated. Sir Nel, I would like to inform Sir Nel, no, na siya na lang yung magiging huli na presenter. Dito ba, Sir Nel? Wala siya. With that, let's proceed to chapter 18. By the way, thank you, Sir Juan, for presenting chapter 17. So right now, we'll proceed with chapter 18.1 to 18.3 assigned to Sir Jason. Will be followed by Ma'am Edrel or Sir Edrel Torrente. This will be the last chapter for the management book, the reference I gave, but we will have an offset presentation because of Sir Nel's problem in his network connection. Without further ado, sir, Sir Jason, you can proceed.
Thank you, sir. Sir, query ko lang po, sir, kung visible na po yung screen, sir.
Yes po.
Good evening, sir, classmates, ma'am and sir. I'm Jason Tigal, and I'm tasked to present the controlling activities and operations chapters 18.1 to 18.3. For the scope of my presentation, we'll cover the following. For the 18.1, for the, nature and importance of control. 18.2 is steps in the control process, and the 18.3 for the explain how organizational and employee performance are measured. So what is controlling? So basically, sir and ma'am, almost of our classmates is in the officers in the armed forces of the Philippines, and all of us is are handling subordinates and personnel. So controlling is the process of monitoring, comparing, and correcting work performance. All managers should control even if their units are performing as planned, because they can't really know that unless they evaluate what activities have been done and compare the actual performance against the desired standard. So basically, sir, controlling is important because it's the only way that the managers know whether the organizational goals are being met. And if not, sir, the reason why the value of the control functions can be seen. 3 specific areas were in planning, empowering employees, and protecting the workplace. For the other definitions of controlling, for the Henry Fayol, control of undertaking consists of seeing that everything is being carried out in accordance with the plan which has been adopted, the orders which have been given, and the principles which have been laid down. Its object is to point out mistakes in order that may be rectified and prevented from recurring. For Kuntz and O'Donnell, managerial control implies measurement of accomplishment against the standards and the correction of deviation to assure attainment of objectives according to plans. So, as the slides are, the effective managers follow up to ensure that what employees are supposed to do, in fact, being done and goals are being achieved. Controlling provides planning controlling link, which managers are being, ito po yung sinusunod ng mga managers, like us, sir, sa amin, sir, as in the armed forces of the Philippines. Ito po yung sinusunod namin. First is planning, which nandito, sir, yung mga objectives namin, goals, for specific, sir, specific goal na, kunwari, may isang activity, sir, then we as a manager, we making first planning to successfully ma-reach namin yung mga goals namin and missions. For the next dito, sir, is yung organizing, which is like detailing na, sir, dito sa mga personnel namin. Then after ng ma-detail namin and mabigay namin yung mga instructions, dito na kami papasok, sir, as leaders, as we are motivate them, communicate, and for their ginaguide namin sila, sir, kung paano yung magiging magandang kahitnan ng isang missions. Then lastly is the controlling, which yun yung sinasala na namin lahat, sir. Then kino-compare din namin lahat ng mga previous na missions na para maging maganda yung yung maging successful yung accomplishment namin. For the next chapter, sir, is the control process. For the number one controlling process is the establishments of standards. A company must develop the document and explain clear standards and methods for measuring a particular performance. For this controlling process number one, may 3 questions arises. Where, what, and when, and what is the standards? So ang standards and means measurable or tangible. For the measurable, in form of cost, output, expenditure, and time and profit. While for the non-measurable, or it is the performance deviation between workers and attitude towards concern. So for this proper standard and methods for measuring performance helps a company tweak their process as required for better results. Performance measurements help them see where their process and procedures need improvements. For the next controlling process is the measuring actual performance. For this, sir, 2 questions may be arise. How we measure and what we measure, or how we measure by various sources like personnel, observation, statistical reports, oral reports, and written reports. For the what we are measure is tangible and intangible. For the tangible measurement is form of budgets like cost, output, and sale. For the intangible measurement, through subjective naman, sir, like employees performance. This must be done in a consistent, regular manner to facilitate proper data acquisition to make informed decisions concerning performance. This regular measuring gives managements substantial information so they can again make adjustment as necessary with the protocol. Next is the comparing actual performance against standard. Company management compares measure results with the standards they previously established. They can determine if performance is up to their expectations or not. With this comparing, they can decide to abandon certain policies, procedures, or tasks, then modify or leave them in place. For the last controlling process is the taking managerial actions. Company must use the information gathered from the control process, not taking action based on revealed information. Dito, sir, may papakita ako, sir, na dito, sir, na yung sir. It means shows inefficiencies or poor employees' performance. Means they wasted their time and resource instituting the control process. They must take action that gives solutions to the problems. They must then measure this corrective action that gives solutions to the problems. They must then measure this corrective action some time down the road to see if they are performing up to corporate expectations. Consequently, the control process is something that is ongoing in organizations to make sure that the business is performing optimally. So as we are managers, we measure the actual performance with the standards. So ito yung sinusunod din natin ito, sir, kung being standard, acceptable, and it needs to have a revised standard. For the last chapter, for the organizational employee performance, dito, sir, yung benefits ng isang company and within its employee. So, number one is the improved worker safety and morale, reduce overall company risk, improve decisions making, easier recruitment and retention, And last is the improved service quality. For the improved worker safety and morale, by validating competency before allowing employees to undertake high-risk activities or that have potential to place people and property to risk accident. This comfortable and safer in a work environment, which is improving overall morale of all the employees. Next is the reduce overall company risk, which is a competent workforce create a safer workplace, minimizing the chance of injury, property damage, fines, and a lawsuit. Next is the improved decisions making. When the competencies of all members of a workforce are evaluated, leaders can see the overall strength and weaknesses of its workforce in terms of skills and capabilities, providing information that can be invaluable for making strategic organizational decisions and influencing the company's priorities and decisions. For the next is the easier recruitment and retention. When companies earn a reputation for setting high standards of excellence via implementation and validation of worker competency, it becomes easier to recruit and retain employees who value and enforce safety. For the last is the improved service quality. For the employees who are competent, work more efficiently and effectively, producing better results. So with that, consequently, quality improves and so does it has the best customer satisfaction. That's all, sir. Thank you and good day, sir.
Any other inputs? Anyone who would like to share some knowledge? If none, let's proceed to the part 2 of the chapter 18. I'm looking for Sir ayan, Ma'am Edrel.
Yes,
Ma'am,
sir. Good evening, sir. Yes, sir.
you can now proceed with your report.
Yes, sir.
To Sir
Sir, if I may, sir, may I be allowed to present it in Safari, sir?
Yes, ma'am. In
Hindi ko
whatever
kasi
ways, ma'am.
gamit ko kasi yung Canva na app, sir, and then hindi
Mm,
siya ma-presenter's view na hindi siya ma-view sa screen niyo po yata, sir. Kung tama ako.
sige, ma'am. In whatever ways you can ayan, nakita na po.
Or ay nakita niyo na, sir? Visible
Yes,
na po ba itong screen ko, sir?
Visible na po, sir.
Good evening, sirs and ma'ams. My apologies for the technical difficulties. So allow me to present the chapter 18, controlling activities and operations, particularly on 18.4, which is tools for measuring organizational performance, and 18.5 for contemporary issues in controls. So for my learning objectives, we have first describe tools used to measure organizational performance. And next is discuss contemporary issues in control, particularly to develop skills in dealing with difficult people. So what kind of tools could managers at these companies use for monitoring and measuring performance? So ultimately, all managers need appropriate tools for monitoring and measuring organizational performance. Managers can implement control before an activity begins, during the time the activity is going on, and after the activity has been completed. And these are identified as first, the feed-forward control, which anticipates problems. Second, the concurrent control, which corrects problems as they happen. And finally, the feedback control, which corrects problem after they occur. For the feed-forward control, it is the most desirable type of control since it prevents problems before the actual activity. It requires timely and accurate. Unfortunately, it requires timely and accurate information. So, sa Navy, sir, as I can relate to it, we have several protocols, standard operating procedures, circulars, directives, memos, manuals, letter of instructions, checklists, and many others, sir. So as to ensure the quality of each execution of our activity. So next we have the concurrent control. As its name implies, takes place while a work activity is in progress. Here, direct supervision or management by walking around is implemented. They are directly interacting with the employees. And then all managers can benefit from using concurrent control, but especially first line managers, especially for us junior officers in our organization. Because we can immediately see the problems before they become too costly for us. Next, sir, we have the feedback control, which takes place after work is done. This is usually this is what we call costly because it leads to waste or damage. But despite its disadvantage, we also have its two advantages, which is first, it gives managers meaningful information on how effective their planning efforts were, and secondly, it enhances motivation, as people would want to know how well they're doing, and feedback provides that information. Secondly, sir, we have the financial controls. Every business wants to earn profit, and to achieve this goal, managers need financial controls. And managers use traditional financial measures such as ratio analysis and budget analysis. So for example, sir, we have here a liquidity ratio. Liquidity with first example is the current ratio, which tests the organization's ability to meet short-term obligations. Second is the acid test, which tests liquidity more accurately when inventories turn over slowly or are difficult to sell. And for the leverage, we have the debt to assets ratio, which is the higher the ratio, the more leveraged the organization is. And secondly is time interest earned ratio, which measures how many times the organization is able to meet its interest expenses. Next, we also have the activity with inventory turnover ratio, which the higher the ratio, the more efficiently inventory assets are used, and the total asset turnover with the definition of the fewer assets used to achieve a given level of sales, the more efficiently management uses the organization's total assets. And lastly, for profitability, we have profit margin on sales, which identifies the profits that are generated, and then return on investment, which measures the efficiency of assets to generate profits. These financial ratios were already discussed during our previous HRM subjects, sir. budgets as planning and control tool. So budgets are also planning and is a planning and control tool. Since when a budget is formulated, it's a planning tool because it indicates which work activities are important and what and how much resource should be allocated to those activities. But budgets are also used for controlling because they provide managers with quantitative standards against which to measure and compare resource consumption. As I could relate this to the Philippine Navy, sir, we are glad that we are given more bigger and bigger budgets to buy assets, as they could already see that we are becoming highly effective in our mission, and they ma-compare na po nila, sir, yung mission accomplishment namin from the previous years with the very old and outdated assets versus our current assets today, and with our mission accomplishment. So next, we also have information controls. So in our organization, we have different security classifications especially for documents. We have unclassified, confidential, secret, and top secret, so as to control the spread of information. But unfortunately, I mean, it's not an unfortunate event, but for us, we require utmost transparency from our subordinates. We even have it's already a written rule, since it is posted in most of our office spaces, which is number 1 is always inform the commander, and second is feedback. So here, managers deal with information controls in 2 ways. It is a tool to help them control other organizational activities, and as an organizational area that they need to control. So here, sir, is an example in the corporate world wherein software engineers of General Electric Company's Diagnostic and Monitoring Eye Center in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, is monitoring the performance of customers' oil and gas equipment. So the purpose of monitoring the equipment is to provide customers with valuable information that helps them operate at the highest levels of safety, efficiency, and reliability. For us, sir, in our organization, sir, we have the Joint Readiness Reporting System, which ultimately tells us the capability of the unit to perform its mandates and its mission. So for controlling information, sir, because information is critically important to everything in an organization, managers must have comprehensive and secure controls in place to protect that information. Such controls can range from data encryption to system firewalls to data backups and other techniques as well. So dati we could do Facebook from mga 2 years ago siguro. We can still browse Facebook through the Wi-Fi provided by the camp, but unfortunately now we are only restricted to Viber and Telegram, and email. So in our current services in the camp, yun na lang po yung napoprovide ng internet namin, kaya usually sa amin is may sarili ng Wi-Fi router. So we also have here the balanced scorecard approach. So a balanced scorecard typically looks at 4 areas that contribute to a company's performance: financial, customer, internal processes, and people, innovation, and growth assets. So according to this approach, managers should develop goals in each of the 4 areas and then measure whether the goals are being met. So The balance scorecard are used as a better strategic planning, and this is also to improve project alignment and for effective measurement. So this balance scorecard is not new to us, since we are also maintaining this balance scorecard, sir, for every unit, and we align this. Our balance scorecards are aligned with our unit commanders. So aside from that, we also have benchmarking of best practices. So benchmarking is the search for the best practices among competitors or non-competitors that lead to their superior performance. And benchmark, it also identifies various benchmarks, the standard of excellence against which to measure and compare. Benchmarking can also be used to identify specific performance gaps and potential areas of improvement. So moving on to my last topic, sir, we have the contemporary issues in control. So as what was already inculcated to us military person, control is an important managerial function. So here, sir, we will discuss, sirs and ma'ams, the 6 control issues, namely cross-cultural differences, workplace privacy, employee theft, workplace violence, customer interaction, and lastly, corporate governance. So for cross-cultural differences, the differences are primarily in the so here in cross-cultural differences, sirs and ma'ams, the differences is mainly in measurement and corrective action steps of the control processes. So what it means here is that for foreign companies controlling their just like in BPO controlling the companies in the Philippines, their tendency is mostly to use formalized controls and particularly rely on formal reports, since their means of communication is mostly through the internet. While for the companies that are co-located or just within an area, mostly dito sa mga companies na to is direct supervision. And with that, technology has a really great impact on this in instilling these controls, as it gives us tools on the proper monitoring of our personnel. So next is the workplace privacy. So this is just a hypothetical question. This is just a question that you don't need to answer, sirs and ma'ams. So what can your employer find out about you and your work? So basically, why do managers feel that they need to monitor what employees are doing? And this is one big reason, which is employees are most likely to, lalo na pag may signal at may internet, they are more likely to browse their laptops or cell phones during their even during working hours. I know that many are guilty of this, pero hindi ako aamin, sirs and moms. So I am also one of those nagbabrowse din talaga pag nabuburi yung nasa trabaho. So another reason is that why managers monitor employee email and computer usage is that they don't want to risk being sued for creating a hostile work environment because of offensive messages or inappropriate image displayed on co-workers' computer screen. Concerns about racial or sexual harassment are one reason companies might want to monitor or keep backup companies of all email. Electronic records can help establish that what actually happened, so managers can react quickly. So since it's a common working area, there might be times or there might be other person na mag-vandalize ng mga gamit or computer workspace mo. So this is not relatively new kasi this happens talaga. Even as in a very disciplined organization, we also hear stories na may mga nababandalize na mga gamit or laptops. So moving on, we have here employee theft. So employee theft is defined as any unauthorized taking of company property by employees for their personal use. It can range from embezzlement to fraudulent filing of expense reports to removing equipment, parts, software, or office supplies from company premises. So here, sir, you can see that there are many reports of theft, employee theft. So hindi lang sila mga pipitsugin na mga cases. There are frauds and milyones yung halaga ng nakukuha ng mga employees. So why do employees steal? The answer depends on whom you ask. Experts in various fields, industrial security, criminology, clinical psychology have different perspectives. So for the industrial security people steal because of the opportunity presents itself through lax controls and favorable circumstances. While for the criminologist, it is because people have financial-based pressures or vice-based pressures. So, and lastly, the clinical psychologist suggests that people steal because they can rationalize whatever they're doing as being correct and appropriate behavior. So with this, sir, we can apply the concept of feed-forward, concurrent, and feedback control in identifying measures to deter or reduce employee theft, as shown. So for the feed forward, we have the use of careful pre-hiring screening, involve employees in writing policies, educate and train employees about the policies, and then for the concurrent is treat employees with respect and dignity. And then we also have install lockout options on computers, telephones, and emails. Use corporate hotlines on reporting incidents, set as a good example. And then for the feedback, we have make sure employees know when theft or fraud has occurred, not naming names, but letting people know this is not acceptable. Use the services of professional investigators to design control measures, evaluate your organization's culture and the relationship of managers and employees. And next, sir, we have the workplace violence. So is workplace violence really an issue for managers? Another question also is it an issue particularly to our organization, to the Philippine Navy? And for me, sir, I think it is still an issue, as we have noted an increase of cases just this first month of the year na may mga notable cases kami ng mga personnel namin na medyo nag-display ng violent behavior at their workplace. So they are already disciplined naman. So they are already taken care of. So what are the factors that are believed to contribute to workplace violence? So we have here uncertain economic environment, job uncertainties, declining value of retirement accounts, long hours, information overload, other daily interruptions, unrealistic deadlines, and uncaring managers. So here, sir, we have a very recent poll, just this January 31. So around 1/5 of Filipino employees have experienced workplace harassment. So almost kalahati ng population are victims of this workplace harassment. So it is 47% among females and 60% among males. So most likely yung most likely mga males pa rin, sir, yung na-involve sa workplace violence. So what can managers do to reduce possible workplace violence? So once again, we can apply the concept of feed forward, concurrent, and feedback control as shown. So next, second to the last control issue, sir, we have the customer satisfaction. So according for customer interaction, we have the concept of service profit chain. This service profit chain means that the company's strategy and service delivery system influence how employees deal with customers. And that is how productive they are in providing service and quality of that service. So it is best described in this image, sir, wherein the level of employee service, productivity, and service quality influences customer perception of service value. When service value is high, it has a positive impact on customer satisfaction, which leads to customer loyalty. And customer loyalty improves organizational revenue growth and profitability. And for my last topic, sir, we have the for my last item, we have the corporate governance. We have here the role of the board directors and the financial auditing and audit team. So corporate governance is the system used to govern a corporation so that the interests of the corporate owners are protected. So for the role of board directors, the original purpose of a board directors was to have a group independent from management, looking out for the interest of shareholders who were not involved in the day-to-day management of the organization. And for the financial reporting and audit team. So by the word itself, sir, the financial auditing and auditing team. So I can relate it to the Navy, sir, since sa role of the board director, sir, we have the higher headquarters, yung mga pinakamataas sa amin, sir, looking down na nag-control sa performance ng mga subunits niya. We have several we have a annual general inspection, sir, and we also have the internal audit, the TINEA audit, which we call TINEA audit. So dalawa yung evaluation. We have the performance evaluation and then the financial side of the implementation naman ng mga activities. And then for our financial auditors, we have the COA for the implementation nga ng mga projects namin, sir, the financial side. And then we also have the Civil Service Commission na anytime pwede kaming mapatawag kaagad if there are any complaints regarding our performance. So here is a highlight, sir, for the companies that received the Golden Arrow Awards. Ito yung sa corporate for the corporate world naman, they have this corporate governance award. So we have here Globe, yung Gokong Wei, and then the Robinsons. Very recent lang. So here is the illustration for the implementation of corporate governance. We have the vision, mission, strategy, objectives, and SMART goals. And that ends my presentation, sir. Thank you very much, and have a very wonderful night, sirs and ma'ams.
Yes, sir. My apologies for the technical difficulties a while ago, sir. I needed to relocate, sir, to get a better connection, sir. Query po, sir, kung nakikita na yung presentation ko, sir.
Yes po, sir.
Thank you, sir. I will just proceed to where I left off a while ago, sir. A while ago, I was discussing about the leadership behavior theory, wherein I have shown some studies about leadership behavior theory, studies in University of Michigan, in studies in Ohio State, and those studies on leadership behavior theory provided the basis for the development of two-dimensional grid for appraising leadership styles. Ito na yung managerial grid. This managerial grid is just like a Cartesian coordinate plane. Kung naalala niyo po, sir, yung XY plane, yung may x-axis and y-axis, wherein in this managerial grid, the concern for people at yung concern for production are used as parameters in appraising leadership styles. Yung concern for people ay yung vertical dimension niya or the y-axis, and the concern for production is the horizontal dimension naman or the x-axis. Tapos may scale siya from 1 to 9, and those leaders that performed best with 9 style or high in concern for production and high in concern for people, sila yung mga maayos or magaganda yung leadership performance. We now come to the next learning objective, the contingency theories of leadership. Contingency approaches to leadership focus on identifying the most effective leadership style based on the situation at hand. So nag-a-adjust yung leadership depende sa sitwasyon. We have 3 theories or model. The first one is Feidler contingency model. This model proposed that effective group performance depended on properly matching the leader's style and the amount of control and influence in the situation. Feidler, he classified leaders into 2, task-oriented leader or and relationship-oriented leader. And yung situation naman, kinlassify niya into favorable and unfavorable. According to him, task-oriented leaders are effective when the situation is unfavorable. Tapos si relationship-oriented naman is effective siya when the situation is favorable. For example, yung company or yung organization is smoothly flowing lang yung transactions, maganda yung takbo ng company nila, so favorable yung situation. Effective yung relationship-oriented na leader. But when the organization encounters a challenging times na kailangan may gawin silang move o kailangan nilang execute ng necessary measures o bold measures, mas effective yung leader na task-oriented. The next model or theory is the Hershey and Blanchard situational leadership theory. This is a contingency theory that focuses on followers' readiness. Readiness here refers to the extent or up to what extent the followers can execute the task given to them, or kung gaano kahanda or gaano siya skilled or equipped to do the task. So according to this model or theory, you can be a directing leader, coaching leader, supporting leader, or delegating depending on the ability of the follower. Pag ang follower or the subordinate is baguhan o hindi pa masyadong gamay yung trabaho niya, ang effective na leadership style sa kanya is directing. I-guide mo siya, tuturuan mo siya, ganito yung gagawin mo. And kung meron na siyang alam, he has the skills and the knowledge to perform the task, but needs directing pa rin, na kailangan niya pa rin i-guide. So coaching naman yung leadership style na nababagay para sa kanya. And when he has the skills and knowledge to perform the task pero wala siyang motivation, he lacks self-confidence to do the task. Supporting leadership style naman yung akma na gagamitin sa kanya. And when the follower has the necessary skills and knowledge to perform the task, and at the same time, he also has the motivation, meron siyang confidence sa sarili na gawin yung task, mas magiging productive siya kung delegating leadership style yung gagamitin sa kanya. The third one is the path goal model. This is a leadership theory that says the leader's job is to assist followers in attaining their goals and to provide direction or support needed to ensure that their goals are compatible with the goals of the group or organization. Naalala ko dito yung pinost ng ating professor, Sir Brandon, dun sa chat box natin last meeting ata, na sabi niya, the success of an employee is equivalent to the success of the organization. Dito papasok yan sa path goal model. So kumbaga, i-support lang natin yung employee sa kanyang goals na compatible with the goals of our organization or of the group. So when he succeeded, at the same time, nag-succeed din yung organization. The next learning objective is the contemporary views of leadership, or these are the latest views of leadership. We have the leader-member exchange theory, This theory proposes that leaders form two types of relationships with their followers. Na-encounter natin ito sa papalit-palit natin na leaders kasi officers come and go sa ating organization. Every now and then magpapalit ng leader, magpapalit tayo ng head of office. So, yung hindi lahat ng members ng office ay pare-parehas yung relationship with the leader. Yung iba ay may closer relationship sa leader at yung iba naman yung may formal lang yung relationship nila with the leader or they have more distant relationship. Sila yung out group or yung mas closer kay boss. Sila naman yung in group. The next contemporary view of leadership is the transformational transactional leadership. Transactional leadership is focused on achieving specific goals through rewards and punishment, while transformational leadership is focused on inspiring and empowering individuals to reach their full potential. Marami tayong na-encounter na mga ganitong leaders, yung mga malakas magbigay ng rewards sa mga performing well na subordinates at malakas din mang-punish ng mga erring personnel. Tapos meron din namang mga transformational leaders na nakafocus sa pag-i-inspire ng kanyang mga subordinates para ma-motivate na mas lalo pang ipagbutihin to reach their full potential. The next is charismatic visionary leadership. This is a type of leadership style where a leader inspires and motivates their followers through their vision and personality. Example ng mga ganitong leadership na talagang charismatic, grabe sila maka-inspire ng followers ay katulad kina Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, na yung kanilang vision nagre-resonate doon sa kanilang mga followers and it motivates them to perform well in their respective tasks. Next is the authentic leadership. It focuses on the moral aspects of being a leader. Authentic leaders, ito yung mga leaders na transparent, walang tinatago. This is the way, this is how they gain the trust and confidence of their followers. In that way, nakuha nila yung loob ng kanilang followers and their subordinates will follow suit kung ano yung gusto niyang, kung saan niya gusto dalhin yung organization. Next is ethical leadership, a leadership style that prioritizes ethical behavior and is in decision making in all aspects of leadership. Ito naman yung mga leaders na palaging doon tayo, what is ethical or what is the right thing to do, even at the expense of sacrificing something, kahit na masasacrifice yung relationship niya with the subordinate, as long as this is the ethical thing to do. Yun yung i-impose niya. Doon niya na kukuha yung trust and confidence din ng subordinates niya. Next is team leadership. It refers to the ability to guide and motivate a group of individuals towards achieving a common goal or objective. I will not dwell into this ang malalim link pa dahil na-discuss na ito ni Sir Will Nepalar sa kanyang report, yung team leadership. Na-discuss niya na ito in detail last meeting. We now come to the last learning objective, the 21st century issues that affects leadership. Una is the managing power. Sabi ni Uncle Ben kay Spider, power, we are tayo sa seat of power. So managing the power ay nasa atin. We have to be careful in using yung kinabukasan nila. Kung hindi natin pag-iingatan yung pag-impose ng power na yun, baka may masira tayong buhay. Next is developing trust. Trust is defined as the belief in the integrity, character, and ability of a leader. Paano ba natin mag-gain yung trust ng ating subordinates? Hindi naman natin pwedeng ipilit. Hindi naman natin pwedeng hingin. Trust and confidence are earned by building a career reputation so that our reputation will speak for ourselves. Next is empowering employees. Ito very evident ito sa ating organization in the military. Kasi in-empower natin yung ating subordinates. We empower our NCOs or the commissioned officers. Bigyan natin sila ng opportunities to for schooling. Bigyan natin sila ng magandang career path para mag-equip sila na ma-perform ng maayos ang kanilang trabaho. In that way, na-empower ang ating mga subordinates. Next is leading across cultures. Dito na tayo magagaling being in the military kasi hindi natin mapipili kung sino lang yung mga tropa o yung subordinates na ibibigay sa atin. Kasi hindi naman tayo nag-hire. Ina-assign lang sa ating mga units. So, ang cultures ng tropa na tayo ay iba-iba. They came from different ethnicity. They have different upbringings. So, iba-iba yung cultures. Pero kaya natin i-manage na overcome natin yung culture barrier, yung cultural gap. Next is, or the last is becoming an effective leader. How to be an effective leader? Ako, para sa akin, leadership is a science. And at the same time, it is an art. Science kasi pwede siyang pag-aralan tulad sa ginagawa natin ngayon. Leaders can be developed through proper and scientific training. And at the same time, it is also an art. There are aspects of leadership that can't be learned in school. Nasa atin na yun to develop our own leadership style. Tayong kanya-kanyang way ng pag-lead na hindi kailangang ituro sa atin. Nasa atin na talaga yun. Now, to my report, we were able to define leader and leadership. We were able to compare and contrast management and leadership. Compare and contrast the theories of leadership. We were able to describe the three major contingency theories of leadership. We were able to